Yo, 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 it's here. Selection Sunday. Here on my guy Cav from the Get a Bucket podcast. Cav, we here, man. What's going on?
Yes, sir. It's one of my favorite days, if not my favorite day of the year, man. Tournament about to be announced. We about to get all the seedings in the different regions, and we're gonna see how it pans out, man. I'm excited to do this one. This should be fun.
Yep. We did this last year, but this year we ready getting into it a few minutes away from Selection Sunday. I'm hyped. My Blue Devils, we did our thing in the tournament, in the AC tournament. Got the, won the chip and all that. Good things coming. Good things coming. We talked a lot about Duke on the pod and all that, but health, man. Once this team got healthy, we were able to get a good feel of this team, and ever since they've been healthy, they've been riding, and they rode all the way to winning the ACC championship yesterday versus UVA. It was a tough watch, though. It was a tough watch because you know how UVA plays, and Duke this year's defense is playing really good this year. So you got two defensive teams. It was a tough, but Duke wound up taking care of business and all that. And how we feeling about Michigan State? We know they're going to be a tournament team and all that. Got bounced a little early, but competitive and all that all year. So we feel about Michigan State heading into the tournament.
Man, that loss versus Ohio State was definitely tough. You got to give them their credit, though. They were arguably, after Penn State, I'd say they were probably the hottest team, and Purdue. They were the third hottest team in the Big Ten tournament. So it was weird because Ohio State was always talented. Like, I knew they'd be talented. It took them a while to understand that they didn't need to run their offense through Zed Key, and they needed to let it flow through guys like Bruce Thornton and Bryce Sensabaugh and Roddy Gale. And you play Felix Akpar a little bit more, and now you have a much more well-balanced team. But, solid season for them, even though, of course, they didn't make the tournament. But I think for us, that was a terrible showing, going into that game. Like, yeah, we kind of made a good comeback and wasn't all of them good things, but I don't know. It was a tough loss, but we should be a 7 seed, I think, 7 or 8 seed. I hope we get the 7 seed. Me personally, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really care too much about seedings though, because in 2015 we made the Final Four as a 7 seed, and that just told me like it's literally all about matchups. You have to get the right matchups, and even then, it's just like at the end of the day, if you want to make a deep run, you're going to have to play good teams anyway. So you don't want to avoid anybody. You want to, and especially this year, it's no great or dominant team. I know we look at Alabama and Houston and Kansas and maybe even Texas and Marquette, but those teams aren't that much better than the rest of the pack either. So for us, I don't even care, man. Give me whoever. We had Duke last year. I wasn't worried about it, even though we lost, of course. But I don't mind it, bro. I like competition. You got to be the best. You got to be the best, and that's how it comes down to.
100%, and that's what it is all about. It's about matchups. Like as much as I'm high on Duke, we get the wrong matchup, we could get bounced in the first round, and all we did was didn't mean anything, as far as momentum. So it's all about matchups and all that. But who are the 4 ones in your opinion? Who are the 4 ones right now?
Man, I'm gonna go. I think Kansas should be the number 1 overall seed, playing in the best conference in the country.
Even after the loss to Texas?
Even after the loss to Texas. I know a lot of people like to put a lot of stock into the conference tournaments, but me personally, I think especially with Kansas's body of work going into it, they still, I think, picked up 2 extra quad 1 wins, they beat Iowa State, and they beat, I believe, what was it, Iowa State and Oklahoma State, or no? They beat a couple of teams. Or West Virginia. It was West Virginia.
Iowa State.
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Yeah, that's what they beat. And so
wins over TCU, Baylor. They beat Texas, Iowa State, West Virginia twice.
Kansas State.
They beat Duke early in the season, if we want to put value in that. And I know it's third game of the season, but it's still, Duke won the ACC championship. So that win looks even better now.
So I think they're the number 1 overall seed. Shout out to Bill Self, man. I heard he was discharged from the hospital today, so hope he's in a better state and feeling better. But Kansas at 1, at 2 I'm gonna go Alabama, winning of course
100%.
SEC regular season by comfortable margin, and of course they just won the SEC conference tournament, just absolutely handling Buzz Williams and Texas A&M. Brandon Miller is one of the best fours we've seen in the college game. You can probably compare him at this point. You could probably compare him to what Michael Beasley, Kevin Durant. I think he's up there. Carmelo, like when it comes to wings,
I think
as a
so.
freshman.
I think so.
So, shout out to him. Won SEC Player of the Year too. So they got him. Of course, Nate Oates. They got that fast up tempo, shoot high volume 3 shots. You got a whole bunch of guys: Mark Sears, Javon Quinley, Noah Clowney. The list goes on and on. Rylan Griffin's been playing better. They just got a whole bunch of talent, man. When you got a guy like that, that's your star player that can go and get you a bucket whenever need be, not a lot of teams can say that they have that. And that's all that really comes down to. And defensively, you got to give a lot of credit to Charles Bediako, who's one of the best rim protectors in the country. So Alabama's been doing it, man. So that's 2. At 3, I'm going to go with the Houston Cougars. Kelvin Sampson, I know they lost today. Shout out to Penny and them, but they didn't have Marcus Sasser, just like, Penny and them didn't have Kendrick Davis when they played in Houston. It is what it is. It happens, sadly. Injuries are part of the game. But to me, Houston, like, I know we like to knock the AAC, but it's nothing that they can really control, especially because they're leaving for the Big 12, I believe, next year? So it won't even matter anymore. But they've shown what they can do. They went to Virginia and beat Virginia at Virginia. You know how hard that is to do? Even when Duke was about to do it, they cheated them out of it. So it's not an easy place to go and win in. So that's my third one.
I believe Bama is the number 1 overall seed. Yep, Bama's the number 1 overall seed.
I can't be mad at it. I can't be mad at that. They've had a hell of a season.
They'll be playing at home for the first 2 games, so they get home cooking.
Like I just said, man, they literally won the SEC regular season by a comfortable margin, and then they just won the SEC conference tournament. They're playing at a high level. Honestly, you can make the case that they're playing their best basketball right now.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And amidst all the stuff that's going on off the court, they stayed the course, not letting the distractions, get to them and all that. And because those are big distractions, and that can easily mess up a club. But they figured it out and they're playing good. So we got Alabama's going to be taking on the winner of Texas A&M. Is that Corpus Christi versus Southeast Missouri State? Maryland versus West Virginia. It is the 8-9 matchup. So that's a good matchup right there. Maryland versus West Virginia. West Virginia struggled a little bit early, but they played solid late, and that's a Bob Huggins team, so you can never count them out. San Diego State is the 5 seed. The 5 seed. Okay. So we got San Diego State. They played a tough game versus Utah State, and they'll be taking on Charleston. Charleston had a really good season this year, just 3 losses, but they are the 12 seed. But that's not a 12 seed. That's not your typical 12 seed. So San Diego State gonna have some competition there. So that should be a good one.
Shout out to Pat Kelsey, man. They've had a hell of a year.
Definitely. And Virginia's a 4 seed. So if Virginia's a 4, what do you think Duke's gonna be? A 3? You think they jump to a 3? Maybe.
I think they might jump for winning the AC conference tournament. I think they should. They probably should be a 3 or 4. They're one or the other. But I think they're probably on the 3 line as of right now.
Because if UVA is a 4, and they'll be taking on Furman. So a 4-13 matchup, Virginia versus Thurman. Okay. So we're going to Denver. Creighton is a 6 seed. We know they've had a lot of ups and downs. Started off really good. I mean, we talk highly about Creighton this year a lot on the pod. Especially after the Maui. But they're the 6 seed right now. That's a tough 6 seed. And they'll be taking on NC State.
That's high level guard play right there, man.
Yeah, NC State was on that bubble line, so they got in.
Yep.
They get into the tournament. So that's gonna be that's gonna be a fun game.
Ryan Nembhard, Trey Alexander versus Terquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner. Sign me up for that.
Yep, that is a good one. We got Baylor as the 3 seed. They'll be taking on UC Santa Barbara in the 3-14 matchup.
The Guachos winning the Big West versus Baylor.
And we got Mizzou as the 7th seed.
Shout out to Dennis Gates, man.
Dennis Gates did a hell of a job this season.
Kobe Brown, one of the best players in the country.
Taking on Utah State.
That's an interesting matchup right there.
Very interesting one. Utah State could shoot that thing. That's
That's gonna be a good one.
the 7-10 that we gotta think about that one. That's what we. So we got Zona at the 2, Pac-12 champions.
Yep.
They won the Pac. I think if UCLA had won yesterday, I think UCLA would be on the 1 line, and they still could be
For sure.
on the 1 line.
For
And then we're
sure.
taking on Princeton, the Princeton Tigers,
Winning the Ivy League.
Ivy League champions.
I know who I got in that game, respectfully.
Okay, so that's the South region.
Creighton versus NC State automatically is one of the best games on that section.
Yup.
That's gonna be a hell of a game. I do like Mizzou, Utah State as well.
Mizzou, Utah State could be some fireworks.
Yeah, that's high power offense right there.
That's high powered right there.
Mhm.
Got 2 things that can. I like that one.
Yep.
So just early on, so you any upsets right now? You thinking any upsets?
Man, you said so. It's Zona Princeton. That's not happening.
Nah.
Baylor's playing.
We got
Who are you?
NC State as an 11 versus Creighton as a 6, even though some people may not see that as an upset, but NC State possibly, Creighton.
I think
Creighton.
NC State could do that. The issue is that Creighton has one of the best rim protectors in the country in Ryan Kalkbrenner, and NC State, one of their best players outside of those 2 guards, and Quavion Smith and Jarkel Jr. is DJ Burns. And DJ Burns is an undersized big. He can cook. He's been cooking a lot, but when they've gone against bigger, tall, athletic teams outside of when they blew you guys out at NC State, that was just a crazy, shot making. But it's a bad matchup for their big man. So I think Ryan Kalkbrenner could slow down DJ Burns, and that takes off a big piece of their offense just off that right there.
100%.
So I would like Creighton in that game, even though that guard play is high level right there.
That's going to be key for the guards of Creighton to figure that one out. All right, so
you said that first one was the South region?
Yeah, it's the South region.
But
okay, so we got. All right, so that's the South region so far. And we had UVA as a 4 seed, so it's interesting to see where Duke is, if they're on the 3 line.
Oh yeah, you said Furman's playing Virginia. That could be an upset right there.
That could be. Simply
That
because
could be an upset right
UVA
there.
can't score for nothing.
Outside of Reese
19
Beekman,
points in the first half yesterday, I think.
outside of Reese Beekman, they lack that offensive production. Losing, and to be fair, like losing Ben Vanderplas was a huge loss for them because they only played 6 guys deep anyway, and they were starting him. Now they took Caden Shedrick out the starting lineup, and they put Vanderplas in until he got hurt. So that's a tough blow for them. But just their play style alone, it helps them win games, but it also helps them lose games at the same time. Like it's so weird how it works, but because you play so slow, teams are going to get tired of that. When you get sped up, you're not really used to that. And especially when teams are taking advantage of you in the fast break, which rarely happens, to be fair, it still could be a crutch of there. So I think Furman can get that win, man. Jalen Slauson is a hell of a player. If you have not watched him play, please go watch him play. He's an NBA draft prospect. And that's going to be a matchup right there. And Charleston, San Diego State too. I think Charleston could beat San Diego State. I'm not taking that. I think San Diego State's going to win that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen.
Yeah. Charleston's been good all year.
Yep.
Their strength of schedule is probably not going to be friendly for some people, but you watch some of their games, you're like, oh, okay, this team's good.
Yep.
Now we're going to see them in the big stage.
Yeah, they're one of the best mid-majors in the country. You'll hear Florida Atlantic. I think Kent State is one we'll talk about later when they get announced, but that's a team right there that could be a Cinderella in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So we'll see what the rest of the announcements. Even Utah State, I've been on the Utah State bandwagon all year.
They got shooters.
They got shooters, man.
That's the recipe right there. That's one of the best recipes you can have.
And that's the recipe for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So catch the right team on the right, the right team on the wrong day, and you catch your L Utah State.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Odom, man. If y'all don't remember that name, he was the head coach at UMBC a few years back when they beat Virginia, the first 16 seed of all time, to beat a number 1 seed. So he's been pretty good at Utah State. I think, honestly, I know their fans probably don't want to hear this, but he'll probably be gone in a few years, if I'm being honest. Like,
and that's the name I probably should have brought up on the show, because I feel like he's a name that's going to get some more buzz, especially after the season at Utah State.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, his history, they beat. Not only did a 16 beat a 1, they beat the overall number 1 seed that year.
Man,
the overall number 1. UVA. How many? They probably had like 2 losses that year. They were really good that season. They might have been better that year than they were the year they won the Natty.
Mm-hmm.
What was their record? Just curious to see. But they were really good that year. Overall number 1. Okay, we got Houston is the number 1 seed in the Midwest, and they'll be taking on Northern Kentucky.
Shout out to Marcus Tasser, man. Hopefully he gets healthy. Hopefully he's healthy enough to play in these games. I think he should be, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't checked, but hopefully I'm just sending that positive energy towards him.
Check his health. Iowa versus Auburn. 8-9 matchup. That should be a fun one.
That's a game right there. That's
Chris Murray and company. We'll see how they do.
Chris Murray versus Janai Broom. Tony Perkins versus Wendell Green. Man, that could be a dogfight right there. Iowa loves to shoot the ball. Same thing as Auburn. Auburn's defense I trust a lot more than Iowa's defense, so I probably favor them in that game just off that fact right there.
We got Miami as a 5 seed.
Woo.
Well, Duke's on the 3 line. They have to be.
Miami as a 5 seed.
So Drake, they'll be playing Drake. So Miami versus Drake, the 5-12 matchup.
That's a tough matchup right there. As we all know, a 12 seed always upsets a 5 seed every single season. That's one of the toughest draws in the tournament. But I like this Miami team a lot, man. I would not be surprised whatsoever if Jim Larrañaga goes to back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. They're just that good. Nigel Pack.
But Drake's going to be tough. Drake's been good all year. They're in that, the Missouri Valley Conference. We know they feel like they always do something.
So. They won the Arch Madness tournament. Shout out to Coach DeVries. Shout out to his son, the best player on the team.
Indiana, Kent State. Okay.
Indiana, Kent State?
Indiana, Kent State, the 4-13. A lot of people are going to be on that Kent State wagon. Upset. We got Iowa State as a 6 seed.
Jalen Hood-Schifino versus Sincere Carey is going to be one of the best point guard matchups you'll see all season long.
So we got Iowa State versus the winner of Mississippi State and Pitt in the play-in.
Mississippi State and Pitt in the play-in?
That's a good play-in.
That's a hell of a play-in matchup.
That's a good play-in.
Jamarius Burton, Tolu Smith on Mississippi State side. Jeff Capel gets in, man. He might have saved his job right there.
Yep.
He was looking scary.
So, yeah, those are the last. So, 2 of the last 4 in Mississippi State and Pitt. That's interesting.
What region is this again?
This is the Midwest.
Bet.
We got Xavier as a 3 seed.
Wow.
Xavier is a 3 seed, and they will be taking on Kennesaw State.
Shout out to Amir Abdul-Rahim for leading Kennesaw State to their first ever NCAA tournament appearance by beating one of my favorite players in the country, Darius McGee and Liberty, to win the A-Sun tournament championship. So, man, shout out to Kennesaw State, man. Amir Abdul-Rahim. I think the first year he got there, they were 1-28 or something like that.
Trash. Yep, they were trash.
And now he's in the NCAA tournament, man. The price just went up for him. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah, won't be surprised if we see him in a big time school in a few years. We got Texas A&M. The Aggies are a 7th seed. And Penn State.
Woo!
A&M and Penn State.
That's another top-tier point guard matchup.
Yep.
Wade Taylor IV versus Jalen Pickett.
Jalen Pickett, who has been had an amazing season.
Shout out to Michael Shrewsbury, man.
Penn State, what a season for Penn State, man. I mean, they fought with Purdue just not too long ago.
Yep.
Not too long ago. And Texas on the 2 seed. we got to give credit to Texas and what they've been able to do this season amidst all the BS that happened with Coach Beard and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Thought maybe they would fall off, but they kept it together. They're 2 seed. They'll be taking on Colgate in the 2-15 matchup.
Shout out to Rodney Terry, man. Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen won the Big 12 Conference Tournament Championship handily versus a really good Kansas team. They've had a hell of a year, man. Shout out to Rodney Terry for real. He got to get a job somewhere. They should.
You give him the job?
I think you have to at this point.
I think you have to.
Like they honestly should have been gave him the job.
I think they probably wanted to see, like, okay, let's see how we rolling and all that. And I mean, especially if they make a run. Now, if they lose in the first round,
debatable.
But if they make a run, they go to Elite Eight, Final Four. It's gonna be hard. I know people gonna look at his track record, win-loss record, and be like, do we trust them long term? It's always we see this a lot in the short term, when coaches get fired from success, but long term. But they rolling right now, and he's got better resources. I mean, than he was in his previous job. He's at Texas, and if the team's vibing and all that, So I think a good tournament run. But it's Texas though, so who knows what their thought process is. But he's done a hell of a job though, Rodney Terry. Got to give him credit.
Hell of a job, man. They were at the top of the Big 12 all season long.
Mm-hmm.
Had some great wins. They've played in a lot of big time games. They got some of the best athletes in the country with Dylan Dessou, Timmy Allen. Serge Jabari Rice is a problem. The best pump faking all of college basketball. He might be the best guard on the team, to be honest. 100%. Out to the Longhorns, man.
No, they did their job this year. Because they could have folded, but they kept afloat. Some good wins too. Gonzaga, Creighton.
Yep.
Early in the season, they had that tough loss to Illinois. But and obviously playing in the Big 12, you got to match up everywhere.
Yeah, looking at the Midwest, because it's set now. Auburn could definitely beat Iowa, even though that would not be considered an upset. But I'm just putting that out there. As I mentioned, Drake could definitely beat Miami. I wouldn't bet on that to happen. Me personally, I just trust Miami too much. And I know Norchad Omier got hurt in the game that they lost against Duke, so I'm hoping he can get straight too because he's a huge key component of that team and what they do this year. So now Iowa State potential matchup too between Mississippi State and Pitt could be interesting too. To play in, like Iowa State's they've been kind of up and down since they let Caleb Grill walk. They won a game against Baylor after they just beat Baylor at Baylor in the Big 12 in the Big 12 tournament, but then they got waxed by Kansas. And they're a weird team because defensively they'll stay in any game.
Mm-hmm.
But offensively they have some mighty struggles on that end, and they just have a hard time generating offense and getting good looks. So we'll see what can happen with them though.
All right, so just looking at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, so he has Rutgers, Pitt, NC State zone as his last 4M. Oklahoma State, Clemson, Vandy, Nevada, first 4 out, and then also Michigan, Oregon, Carolina, Wisconsin as the next 4 out after that. And he has Providence. We saw Utah State and Mississippi's in. Mississippi State's playing the play-in. Whereas Pitt got Boise State in and Providence too. And Providence has been, people have said that they might be they're on the bubble. But
yeah, Providence, they've kind of been trending in the wrong direction ever since they went and lost that game at UConn. I feel like that was kind of like a punch to the gut for them. So we'll see if they can get it back rolling. I trust in Ed Cooley. It's probably, honestly, if I'm being honest with you guys right now, it's probably his last season coaching at Providence because it's a good chance he does take that Georgetown job. I would not be surprised.
It's either him or
Michael Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury from Penn State.
Yep. So both of them are definitely great candidates, and nothing against Patrick Ewing. It just time ran its course, man. That's all it was. It happens. It's in the past. Now it should be a new and brighter day for Georgetown basketball fans and the program as a whole.
You know, I know, like the legacy of John Thompson, son Patrick Ewing, but that's in the past now. I know we can't just keep trying to bring the past. That was the past. Yeah, that worked in the 80s, 90s, and all that. It's time for a new era of Georgetown. They need to get out of that, that tree and all that, and just start fresh and build something, because that program can get back, I think, pretty easy. So
it's too much talent in that area. And the DMV is hella talent.
The DMV is loaded with talent. You could just go across the street and you can get your whole recruiting class right there. Like,
Team Takeover is year in and year out one of the best AAU programs in the country. They're a top tier AAU program. It's crazy. It's not even funny how much talent is in the DC. It's really a hotbed for talent. But all the top DC guys go to Duke, like Jeremy Roach and Trevor Keels, or even Michigan, like Doug McDaniel and Hunter Dickinson, Villanova, Justin Moore, other guys like that. So,
all right. So Kansas Howard is the first. So Kansas gets the number 1 seed. So you're right on that. Taking on Howard, Arkansas, Illinois.
Woo!
That we thought should have been better. Now Arkansas has a lot of injuries and all that, but Arkansas, Illinois, man, that's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's probably
Mary's as a 5 seed.
Arkansas, Illinois is gonna be one of the best matchups in the first round, easily.
Top Mary's versus VCU, 5-12.
Shout out to Mike Rose and Ace Baldwin winning the A10. I think they're probably going to be the only team to represent the A10 in the NCAA tournament. So, you said they're playing who?
St. Mary's.
Oh yeah, the Gales.
So, and UConn's the 4. They'll be taking on Iona.
Rick Pitino, man.
Rick Pitino, his last game it's gonna be his last game at Iona.
Yeah, he's out of there after this year.
You won't have to move far too. TCU as a 6 seed.
Mike Miles.
TCU versus Arizona State, Nevada winner. So Joe Lunardi got that right.
Nevada got in, man. Steve Alford out of Mountain West. I like that Arkansas, Illinois, man. That's gonna be Nick Smith versus Terrence Shannon Jr.
Ooh, a lot of first round picks now.
Man, Anthony Black versus Matthew Mayer.
Gonzaga's a 3 seed.
This is the East region.
West versus Grand Canyon. They're playing an online school, so they should win that by easy.
Shout out to Bryce Drew, Scott Drew's younger brother. Used to be the coach at Vanderbilt. Got the Lopes back to the NCAA tournament representing the WAC.
Northwestern, a 7 seed.
Chris Collins, Boo Booey, Chase Audi's players.
Northwestern's in the tourney. Northwestern, we might have Vandy in. We got Duke in. We got all the smart schools in. Who's the other school that went in? Penn State. Boise State versus Northwestern is 7-10. UCLA is a 2 seed. Yeah, VCU versus St. Mary's though. That's gonna be a good one. I think I'm liking Boise State up Northwestern.
Marcus Shaver, Max Rice.
UNC Asheville taking on UCLA in that 2-15 matchup.
I gotta look at that back. Let me see.
All right, that's the West region. Or one more region. Arkansas, Illinois, man. Let's talk about it.
What else can I say? That's top tier talent right there. As I mentioned, Nick Smith versus Terrence Shannon Jr. That's the matchups you pay to go see in person. You know, you
Oh yeah.
go in the seats to watch them two play. So you got that. You got Anthony Black. You potentially have Jaden Epps. Like man, you got Jordan Walsh. You got Matthew Meyer. You got Coleman Hawkins. You got Ricky Council the fourth. It's just it's talent on talent on talent, and both of them have been super up and down. Arkansas partially because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois, partially because of injuries, but also just off the court things too. But that could be a hell of a matchup, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, that's gonna be one of the best matchups.
It might be the game of the tourney.
Yep.
Illinois went through a lot of stuff too. You know, Sky Clark leaving and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that they have Final Four caliber. They have a Final Four caliber team. Like that's unquestioned. It's just been the inconsistencies, you know, shooting the ball from deep, which is they're just horrendous at, you know, which has cost them some games this year. But when they click, man, I mean, we wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about them in the Final Four.
Man, and just think about that.
Season. Defensively, they're good. Just the offense is just so inconsistent.
And think about that. The winner of that game goes on to potentially play Kansas. No offense to the Bison of Howard for winning the MEAC. They knocked off a really good Norfolk State team, by the way, but I'm taking Kansas in that game. And think about Arkansas, Illinois. The winner of that game plays the Jayhawks. That matchup probably could just be as crazy as that first one.
You're probably like, damn, man. Maybe if they did beat, they win last night, maybe they are a higher one, and they're not having that because that's not a. If I'm Kansas, I'm like, damn, we gotta play. That's the next matchup we gotta play. Like
Arkansas can beat them
Arkansas
too.
Could be a number one seed if they're healthy. Illinois could be a top, you know, a 2-3 seed if everything went right. Like we're talking about, this isn't an 8. This isn't your typical 8-9 matchup. Like these are two teams like we've been praising Arkansas for a while, but like we said, injuries and all that affected this team and all that. And a must team is a good team regardless.
Defensively, they have the athletes to really stifle Kansas. Like
they do.
Imagine putting Nick Smith or Anthony Black on Jalen Wilson. Like they're not gonna lock him down, or even Jordan Walsh. They're not gonna lock him down, but they're gonna make his life.
Him. Yeah, just because you don't have to worry about Walsh on the other side that much offensively. Just be Walsh, just getting him, and so you can let Nick and Ricky do their thing offensively. That's a matchup where if I'm Kansas, I'm like, damn, you might be better off being where Texas is right now.
And think about it too, like Kansas doesn't have great rim protection. They got good wing defenders. Obviously, DeJuan Harris is one of the most valuable defenders in the country, but Arkansas can't shoot the ball that well, so they love to get into the paint and make plays from there. And they have the athletes to do that. Anthony Black is a legit 6'7". It only takes him 1 or 2 dribbles to get from the three-point line to the rim. Nick Smith, same thing. And that's probably the biggest issue, though, I'll say, is when they lost this past weekend to Texas A&M was that Nick Smith took like a lot more shots than everybody else. And I know he's trying to get his groove back, but it's not time for that. You can't take every shot every time you get the ball. You got to be a willing passer too. So not saying that he's selfish, but I understand where he's coming from. But you gotta let the game flow through your teammates and not just yourself.
100%. 100%. So we got one more region to go.
Yeah. And Arizona State, Nevada could be a good playing game too. Just like Pitt, Mississippi State. I could see we'll see what the next two are, but them 2 games so far could get real interesting. And no North Carolina fans, y'all are not playing in the bubble. I'm sorry. Y'all season's over with.
It's over. It's over. Isn't that crazy? Like, number 1 over. I don't remember this. There could be the first time in a long time. I don't remember when it was exactly, but for the team that went to the national championship and was the number 1 ranked team in the country coming in to not even be in the tournament is kind of wild. Man, all right, we're in the East region. Purdue, we saw that coming. Purdue is the number 1 seed.
My Spartans is here somewhere, man.
Yeah, you guys are going to be here. Duke's going to be in here.
Oh man!
So once again, we might cross paths like we do every year. It feels like. So Purdue, number 1 seed. Out east, and they're taking on the winner of Southeast Missouri State and Howard University in their play-in game. So Purdue, number 1 seed. So we got Purdue, Houston, Kansas, and let's say Purdue, Alabama, with Alabama being the number 1 overall seed. Memphis as an 8 seed. Memphis just beat Houston to win their conference championship. Great season from that bad coach.
Hold on though. If they win that game and play Purdue, hey, Penny could get that matchup, man.
Penny might get some respect for some
Penny
people.
can get that matchup. I'm telling y'all right now. Kendrick Davis and Zach Edey's drop coverage
versus FAU and the matchup. What a season for FAU. Bounce back season, man. They up and down last year, but this year 31-3. Coach Dusty May, might have they're the Duke Blue Devils are a 5 seed.
That tells me right there that the committee did not put a lot of respect on the AAU, or excuse me, the AAC. The ACC.
So UVA is ahead of them, which is kind of wild. And they're taking on Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts?
Yeah, that's
Max Asmus versus Tyrese Proctor and Jeremy Roach. Hey, and this Oral Roberts team, I'll tell you right now, is better than the one that got to the tournament a few years ago. I'll be honest with you.
Tennessee's on the 4 line. Damn.
I'm picking them to get upset right off the bat against the better. I'll tell y'all right now. We're going to see, though.
Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns.
That could be a game. That could be a game.
I'm surprised though they didn't flip them and Duke. You said maybe they just didn't. The ACC, they just was like, nah, I got sucked this year. Yeah, that's kind of surprising. Kentucky's a 6 seed. They really value the SEC. The SEC was good this year, but I blame UNC for us being a 5 seed.
UNC, Florida State.
Man. Providence versus Kentucky in round 1.
Bryce Hopkins revenge game.
Bryce Hopkins just good. Calling the upset.
Bryce Hopkins revenge game. Oh my God. They tell me it's not scripted, man. I'm sorry, it's scripted.
Oh yeah, they know what they're doing too. Storylines, man.
It's all about the storylines.
All about the storylines. Kansas State. Hell of a season from Kansas State.
Man, Jerome Tang in the game.
Wildcats. Beyonce. Hell of a season from him. They are the 3 seed. They'll be taking on Montana State. And you know what? Just watching, and I could be wrong, but not a lot of bid stealers, not a lot of teams, not a lot of like 11 and 20 teams that won their conference championships. So maybe 1 or 2. I could be wrong, but I didn't see that a lot this year. So I mean, that's always good. Michigan State, Spartan 7 seed. They'll be taking on USC. You're going against Boogie Ellis.
Yes, sir. I love that matchup.
Boogie's been good this year, man.
I love that matchup.
Got to contain Boogie, but Michigan State versus USC, 7-10 matchup. And again, Marquette's a 2 seed. Marquette is the 2 seed. Big East champions. What a season from Shotgun Company. They had a hell of a season this year. Taking on Vermont. So,
hey, I like my region already off the bat.
You guys got a nice. You guys potentially could get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, first of all, just to be clear, that 16 seed is Texas Southern against FDU. 2 very dangerous double-digit seeds here in FAU and Oral Roberts. I do like FAU.
All right, so we got Purdue versus Texas Southern, Memphis versus Florida. Memphis, Florida. Duke can play. Oral Roberts gonna be tough. It's a tough first game.
Hold on, I gotta see the whole bracket.
and get it done inside. They got tremendous perimeter players around, and they
He's-
be a tough matchup for Tennessee. Down to the bottom of the bracket, man.
I look at this Kentucky Providence game. Bryce Hopkins, Providence's best.
Man, that's gonna be a hell of a game right there. You got Ed Croswell, Clifton Moore against Oscar Sheboy. And again, Providence has not been playing well. Kentucky's been okay. They lost to Vanderbilt twice recently in the past 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Jason Wallace is not fully healthy. He's dealing with an ankle injury. So
Man.
that could get real interesting for the Cats right there. If Cal Party loses that game, you're gonna hear a lot of fire Cal talk.
Mhm.
Explores a lot of versatility offensively. Well, I tell you what, it looks like they got a pretty good pathway to get to
Damn, Rutgers didn't make the tournament.
Rutgers didn't make the tournament.
multiple bids. It looks like there's 9 conferences received multiple bids. Big Ten and the SEC.
Big Ten, SEC had the most teams in with 8.
I understand.
So Rutgers, OK, Oklahoma State, Carolina, Clemson did not make the tournament.
Man, I love our draw. I'm telling you right now, I'm so grateful for that draw right now because we could definitely beat USC. I know Drew Peterson's nice. I know Boogie Ellis is good, but I'm taking our guards over theirs personally. And then we're gonna play the winner of potentially play the winner of Marquette versus Vermont. I know Marquette. I tweeted yesterday. They won the Big East regular season. They won the Big East tournament. They are one of the best teams in the country right now, and they are playing at a high level. But I do think my Dogs can win that game too. But I will also not be surprised if Marquette makes a Sweet 16, Elite 8, even potentially Final Four run because Cam Jones is one of the best shooters in the country. Tyler Kolek won Big East Player of the Year. He's one of the best point guards, if not the best point guard in the country. The list goes on. Also, Iguodaro, one of the best post players, athletic rim runners in the country. You know, they got other guys stepping up too. Omax Prosper, one of the best defensive players in the country. So that's a hell of a portion of the bracket right there, man.
Is there anything that surprised you? Any team that didn't make it? Any team that too low, too high as far as ranking? I mean, Rutgers. I mean, I thought Rutgers was going to be a tournament team.
Man, I can't believe they aren't. I really can't believe they aren't.
I mean, you look at their resume: 19-14, 10-10 in the Big Ten. I mean, they struggled late. Maybe that's what killed them. They lost 7 out of their last 9, and I think that's what killed them.
Yeah, man, they lost Mawat Mag in the game that we played against them at Madison Square Garden, and he was a big piece for them. He was one of their best wing players outside of Caleb McConnell. He sadly tore his ACL, so I'm honestly sad for them, man. I thought they played their way in. Cam Spencer, you know, Derek Simpson was a hell of a freshman for them. Caleb McConnell, Paul Mulcahy were seniors. Man, that sucks for them, man. That really does. That really does.
Yeah, that's tough. But you know what? A program that's still on the rise, so
For sure.
they still have some good things looking forward to. See, Pico got them in the right direction. So tough blow, but 19-14 in a tough stretch late probably cost them a chance to make the tournament. And we talked about North Carolina and their struggles, how crazy that is. Michigan too.
Michigan, I'm not surprised. Juwan, I'm not going to criticize Juwan too harshly just because I do believe he's a good coach and he's already been to a Sweet 16 and an Elite 8 on top of that. But when you've had an All-American caliber player like Hunter Dickinson for 4 years and you can't make it to the NCAA tournament, not only that, you can't keep a consistent point guard around him. When he first got there, it was Mike Smith. After that, it was Devontae Jones. After that, I think it was supposed to be Jalen Llewellyn, who got hurt this year, of course. Like, he's had a different point guard every year. I mean, he had Xavier Simpson. Like, eventually, Juwan got to put it together, man. And, Jet Howard is a first-round pick. Kobe Buffkin's playing his ass off. Like, they're not that terrible. I don't know what happened, man. They just could not put it together whatsoever. I think that loss versus Central Michigan killed their season.
Yeah, so Michigan's not in. Clemson didn't make it at a 23-10 with 14-6 in the. It just showed, like you'd mentioned before, committee just said the ACC, y'all were garbage, basura.
Mm-hmm.
No, y'all ain't getting nothing this year. Y'all don't deserve it. Like the fact that they gave Duke a 5 seed, Virginia got a 4 seed, and I think Miami was a 5 seed too. And then Clemson was 14-16 in the conference, and 23-10. That's good enough every year to get in the tournament, and they were one of the 4 teams out.
That might be the nail in the coffin to Brad Brownell's Clemson tenure. He needed an NCAA tournament appearance badly. They were having a really good year too with Hunter Tyson, Chase Hunter, the big guy PJ Hall. Still couldn't make it in, man. And again, like I said, the committee did not respect the ACC whatsoever.
Yeah, and like you said, Coach Brad, this was a season that maybe could have saved his job, but in his tenure at Clemson, it hasn't been all. It's been, it's a tough job too, man. Clemson is not only 3 tournament appearances in 13 years there. So I mean, let's just look at some of their. We'll look at some of their wins and losses.
Man, yeah, I like the bottom of this region, man, a lot. This last game's been playing in Columbus and Greensboro, and yeah, we play in Columbus versus USC too. So that's going that's real close to home. That's right. That's a border game right there.
That's a home game.
Same thing for Marquette though too. I ain't gonna lie, but and Purdue.
Oh yeah, man. Clemson only beat Duke. It's their best win. They lost to Carolina, lost to Iowa. Yeah, so I guess it makes sense why they didn't get in.
We considered about 6 or 7 teams at the top, and at the end of the day, those 4 teams were the teams we selected.
Yeah, that's. I'm still kind of shocked that Rutgers didn't make it, man. But man,
You had Houston as your number 2 overall.
I guess it is what it is. But full bracket is out.
It is out. Tournament is here. March Madness is officially began. We know who's in. We're gonna do our brow. Yeah, we're gonna do our. We'll have our. Last year we had a good turnout for our bracket challenge. We had no joke, hundreds of people sign up. So we'll probably do that again. Have some prizes and all that. We did prizes and all that. I did trash. My Final Four was out the Sweet 16.
Man, yeah, my bracket's been kind of struggling lately too. I ain't gonna lie, but.
And I had a first day. I had almost a perfect first day, and then after that, just shit went downhill. But no, so he's explaining why they have Houston as their second highest number 1 seed over Kansas. Because we just said Kansas is come on now.
The most quad-1 wins, I want to say. 17, I think. So they have a great case. And again, hopefully Bill Self, they say he should be back to return, so good for him. But honestly, they can repeat. I'll be honest with you guys. DeJuan Harris, one of the most important pieces to the team last year. He's a starter this year. Grady Dick is starting to find his footing again after struggling a little bit the past couple of months. We all know Jalen Wilson's a first-team All-American. You got guys like Kevin McCullough that are the glue guys that do all the little things that can make big-time plays whenever called upon. Mm-hmm. KJ Adams is playing with more confidence. Ernest Uday is a quality backup big man. I'm not saying they will, but this Kansas team could actually go back and repeat, and I would not be surprised if they did whatsoever.
You obviously talk about the injury circumstances of the teams and the players. You also usually have contingency brackets. Could you give us a sense of how many of those were in play as we came down to the stretch?
Yeah, we had about 4 brackets.
But overall, there wasn't usually we have years where there's teams that we really feel should have made it and all that, where there's an uproar. I don't think there's going to be that much of an uproar. I mean, saying, maybe Rutgers, but if you look at, how they played late in the season, you can say, okay, it makes sense why they didn't get in and all that. Because, I mean, they had, like I said, they have a couple quality wins. I mean, they beat Purdue again when Purdue was the number 1 team in the country, so, but that's why sometimes it helps to build that, that name, man. I mean, in some cases, look, it didn't help for Carolina, but Carolina did not deserve to be a tournament team. Like they didn't play like that. Maybe if they got to the ACC finals, maybe that would have, maybe at least. But they didn't even get to the ACC championship, so they couldn't help themselves in there. Can help to an extent. So they're going over and Oklahoma State. Yeah, I think the committee did well. I mean, like I said, we didn't have a lot of team stealing bids too, so that's what helps. Because how many times have we seen a 9-20 team just make a run in their conference tournament and they beat the, I think that's one thing that's got to change, because you're especially for those conferences that are only one bid teams. If you go, let's say you're 27-6 and you lose to it, it happens, right? You just have a bad night. Remember, it's one and done. You lose to a team 9-20. Now that team just stole a bid and we just worked this whole season, had a really good season, and because we had an off night in the tourney, we missed out. That's the only crappy part I don't like about it. How do you feel about that when you see stuff like that? And do you think there's a solution to that? Because it kind of just tells you all right, what the regular season don't mean shit. It's like, you just win especially one bid. You just got to win it don't even matter. We just got to win our conference tournament and we in, regardless of our record. We just got to win the conference tournament and we get that bid. And, I feel like sometimes that's could be a little messed up that happens, because it's like regular season don't mean nothing then in that case.
It's tough, man. They got to figure it out, just because you got to reward the best teams regardless.
I'm saying.
That's all it comes down.
What's the point of regular season? It's just, all right, we don't even have to. We could just mail it in and just wait to conference tournament time and let's just start playing ball then, and then that's it. Because then whatever we did in regular season don't mean nothing. We could be perfect, but if we're in a one big conference,
In mid majors, we got to put some more respect on them. I know a couple of them had some down years. Like we thought the A10 was going to be better going into the season. We thought the Conference USA was going to be better with Florida Atlantic and Middle Tennessee State and UAB. But these teams are still good, and they can compete with some of these lower tier power conference schools. Like, I don't know why people don't think that's the case, especially because me personally, I know a lot of mid-major teams that didn't make the tournament that could beat Mississippi State and that could beat a team like Pittsburgh, if we're calling a spade. So to me, man, it's just reward the 64 best teams, the 68 best teams, and go from there. Like, stop trying to make it seem like it's something that it's not, and stop being biased. I know the bigger names and the bigger brands get more money and things like that, but money shouldn't be the issue at this point in time. The NCAA makes billions of dollars just off this tournament alone. So
yeah. So what about this? You win. We put in every team who wins their conference, who wins their regular season. You win your regular season, you're in. So that means we would have to expand the tournament, which has been something that they've been wanting to do, right? That's been what we've been hearing. They already expanded more. And then you win the conference championship and you're a 13-19 team, guess what? You're in. But we got to reward you winning your regular season. It has to mean something. It just can't be the team that wins gets hot at the right time, gets in, and then the team that worked their ass off the whole season to win it and just had a bad night has to suffer. That's just, I don't think that's fair. But I don't know if it's something like, hey, you win your regular season, you get reward. You're in the dance. And then if you happen to win the tournament too, then you win the tournament, and then you're in. Something like that, because it's just we didn't see it this year, but there's been a lot of years. We see the 13-20 team just won and it's in, and then that sucks for the team that's on the first four in or first four out, because you're like, oh crap, now it just makes it harder for us to if you're Arizona State or you're or whatever teams like that, Rutgers, right? That could screw you out of a spot because of two teams from a one big conference made it in. So I feel like they got to do something like that, because you want to reward the teams for winning the conference championship, cool, but we got to reward the team that did the whole work the whole damn season, not just in a 4-game stretch, because I've seen that plenty of times, but it's here, bro. Brackets here. We're gonna get the brackets going. We're gonna have, like I said, we're gonna do our bracket challenge. and do on ESPN. I'm actually gonna set that up right after this and get that going, and I'll send the link out. Follow us Off the Ball Network, and click on the link and join us, and we'll have prizes like we did last year. If you guys are in it, I forgot how much the first place winner won, but he had a nice little chunk of change for winning it. So we'll do that, and both our teams are in, which is most importantly. Surprised that we're how low we were, but that's our conference. Our conference just wasn't it this year. So we do what we do, and I forgot who was our matchup again.
Oral Roberts, Max
Oral
Aceman.
Roberts. I feel like Max has been in college for like 16 years. So, and that it gives me Lehigh vibes a little bit. Gives me a little Lehigh vibes. I know it's not a 2-15 matchup, but he's someone that could take over games, and he's been crazy efficient this year too. So that's a tough one. And you guys got who again?
USC. And I didn't even think about it until right now is that we play the winner of Marquette and Vermont. And if we win and Marquette wins, that would be a Joey Hauser revenge game.
Joey Hauser. So
I completely forgot about that. So that'll be a hell of a matchup too. We got to win our game again. That's a hell of a matchup. I like us in that matchup a lot. But we still got to go out and get the job done. But I'm not mad at our draw whatsoever. Like,
you guys have a nice little potential to get to a Sweet 16. Definitely have potential to do that.
I like our matchup a lot, man. And think about it. You look at Kentucky Providence, and then whoever wins that game plays the winner of Kansas State, Montana State. I'm gonna take Kansas State in that game to win, right? And then Kentucky Providence, that's a tough matchup right there. That's a tough matchup right there. I would probably lean Kentucky just because they have the better overall athletes, but when you're looking at Devin Carter and Cason Wallace, those are two of the best perimeter/wing defenders or just overall defenders in the country.
Oh yeah.
Right there, man. They're both 21-11. Again, I already mentioned the Bryce Hawkins revenge game. That could get real interesting. And both them teams, like, I'm not gonna lie, we already beat Kentucky. I'm not saying we could do it again, but like we have a favorable matchup, man. I'm really liking our draw this year.
Yep, that's a good draw. I mean, there's some good matchups, man, in that bracket. I mean, Memphis, Florida Atlantic. I mean, talk about a pick'em there. That's a pick'em. Like, that's gonna be because now they just go over on overall seeds. Memphis is to 29. A lot of these 8-9 matches are so close, man. Like,
I think I like Memphis in that game though, man, just because Kendrick Davis, as I mentioned, is one of the best point guards in the game. And he's honestly, shout out to my guy Simon Rath. He just tweeted it, but he's a college basketball legend. He started off at TCU, didn't really do nothing, transferred to SMU, and after that, his 4 years at SMU were some of the most productive seasons you'll ever see. And now he's at Memphis at a bigger stage in the same conference where he probably should have won Player of the Year again, but shout out to Marcus Sasser nonetheless. But Kendrick Davis, that dude. And of course, you got DeAndre Williams, who's been there for forever. And he's been in college basketball for a long time, but Memphis is really good, man. I'm happy that Penny won that AAC conference tournament title. He's only gotten better and better every year, in my opinion. Man, a couple games that just
give me a bold prediction. Give me something bold.
Bold prediction is I didn't even think about the 5 seed and the 12 seed
VCU?
between VCU and St. Mary's. I just seen that game, man, and that is a game right there. Ace Baldwin versus Aiden Mahaney, who's one of the best freshmen in the country. If you haven't watched in the West Coast Conference playing for the Gales, like that's a high level point guard matchup. I honestly don't know who I'd pick to win that game. VCU could win that game, and St. Mary's could win that game just as much and just as well. So that's a hell of a matchup. But you said give you some surprise. What I think some surprise ones are. Whew, man. I mentioned earlier, I think Furman could beat Virginia. I believe they could do that.
Can I pull up on Let's see if I can pull up a bracket. Let me see.
I'm gonna look at Iona versus UConn. Rick Pitino, we all know, is a hell of a coach. UConn's clearly gonna have the better talent, but the thing with UConn that concerns me is that they start off the year very hot and they've played pretty well as of late.
Yeah.
But they really don't utilize. I mentioned this earlier that they don't really utilize Tristan Newton that much, and Tristan Newton doesn't have that explosiveness that they kind of need. But they're so dependent on Jordan Hawkins, who's kind of like a dude that can just run off screens. He doesn't really have a handle. He's just like a Rip Hamilton type, where he just comes off screen and just shoots. And then Adama Sanogo's.
And he didn't play well in the last game they played. He had like 4 points. I think.
Max Prosper was in his hip pocket just clamping down. So you look at that, and then on top of that, like Adama Sanogo again is a big man. And in crunch time, how many teams run their offense through their big man outside of like Purdue?
Yeah,
it's not a recipe for winning basketball. You got to get it to your guards.
And he doesn't have the skill of Zach Edey. Like Zach Edey's a skilled big man too.
Exactly. So those are all interesting matches. I wouldn't even be surprised. I do think Gonzaga's going to win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Grand Canyon knocks them off.
Whoa. Wait, it's a potential. That's not just bold. That's like
okay. It's a 3-14 matchup. So I'm not saying it is. Again, I'm not betting on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lopes from Grand Canyon could knock off Gonzaga. Gonzaga's been playing better, but they're one of them teams like, and this is easier said than done, of course, but if you can slow down Julian Strother, you can compete with Gonzaga if you're anybody. I'm being honest, because you need Julian Strother to be big time now. Anton Watson is a hell of a defender. You know what you're going to get from Drew Timme. The guard play's been playing better as of late between Nolan Hickman and Malachi Smith, but Ben Gregg is really good too. Don't get it twisted coming off that bench, but Grand Canyon, I think, could do it, man. I'm not saying they are again, but they are more than capable of doing it. So that's that.
Julian Strother to play like he's been playing. He's got explosive, like, didn't he have like a 40-point game?
Yep.
Let me look it up. I know it was all right. So I got it right here. Got Gonzaga. Let's go Julian Strother. Yeah, I know it was against Portland, but still, that's 40 points in college basketball. That's not easy to do. Yeah, he had a big February, and he's been shooting the lights out the ball lately. So obviously, Jude huge for them down low, but they need that perimeter play.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to pull up a bracket.
That's a hell of a freaking man. Like even Kent State, Indiana, man. Like if Indiana's not knocking down shots from the perimeter outside of Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson Davis, like they need that perimeter shooting. And if guys like Trey Galloway and Miller Kopp, Tamar Bates aren't knocking down shots, then Kent State can knock them off. Again, Sincere Carey is going to be one of the best point guards playing in the tournament. He's been one of the best point guards in the country. Like they play some good teams, especially in the non-conference, and the MAC is a hell of a conference to get tested in. They could beat Indiana, man. They could beat Indiana.
Let me see if I can pull up a bracket. Let me see.
And I'm telling y'all too, Iowa State. Honestly, I don't think Iowa State will get upset just because even though I don't trust their offense, they're gonna play the winner of Pittsburgh and Mississippi State. Like Jamarius Burton could definitely cause them problems, but if they play Mississippi State, I'm not worried about Iowa State. But I think Pitt could potentially beat Iowa State, but Mississippi State, Tolu Smith, they need a little bit more help. Chris Jans, yeah, I wouldn't see that one, but I'm telling y'all though, that Arkansas-Illinois matchup, man,
that's gonna be hella fun.
That's the one right there. That's the one.
It's gonna be fun.
That's a Thursday game too, so I'm glad we getting that one kind of early. That's the game right there.
Let's see if I can pull up a bracket.
That's the game right there. And you mentioned Memphis FAU. Yeah, man. Yeah, I like us in that game against SC just because I think we play in the Big Ten, we play with a more dominant level of physicality that the Pac-12 doesn't necessarily play with. That's why I like us in that game. Like AJ Hoggard, he's gonna, as much as Boogie Ellis is gonna attack him, he's gonna put just as much pressure on him without even trying to score like that. So I love that draw, man. I truly love that draw.
Bama, Browns, and play-in. So, what one seed you think has the easiest road, and what one seed has the toughest road? So we're looking at Alabama's road to the Final Four, and they take on the winner of West Virginia, Maryland,
I think Houston has the easiest path.
and let's look at Houston. Let's see what-
Maybe even actually Bama. No, I think Bama has the easiest path. I think Bama has the easiest path.
Bama's path. Yeah, Bama has a pretty. I mean, they take on Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland. I mean, they should take care of business between those two teams, and then potentially
Virginia or San Diego State.
Virginia or San Diego State. I mean, they should beat those two teams, and that's in this. Boom, that puts them in the Elite Eight, and then Elite Eight potential matchup is Zona or Baylor. They could beat Baylor. Zona could give them trouble, but yeah, no, I think it is Bama.
Yeah, man, because I'm looking at it like for Houston, like Houston does have a good draw because they'd have to beat, of course, Northern Kentucky is their first matchup, but they have to beat the winner of Iowa versus Auburn. I like them in that game. And then they would potentially play Miami or Indiana. I like them against either one of them teams just because I think with Indiana, they double the post. So Trace is going to have to pass the ball and they're going to have to knock down shots. And then with Miami, I'd probably, Miami's backcourt is good, but Houston's backcourt is just as good. And they could outweigh them. And so, Houston's path is pretty good too. But again, Kansas probably has the third toughest, because I'm looking at like Kansas again. They're gonna have to play the winner of Arkansas, Illinois. Either one of them games, like you'd probably want Illinois more just because you probably have a little bit more faith in Arkansas, and they've been a little bit more consistent than Illinois. But that's a tough matchup right there. And then again, UConn could present some matchup problems with them because Adama Sanogo is just a beast, and they got that perimeter shooting too. So, Purdue, I'm telling y'all, Memphis could cause Purdue hell. They got to win that first game versus Florida Atlantic, but Kendrick Davis is a bucket getter, and he is a big-time problem. And especially against them guards, especially because we've noticed that when you pressure Purdue, Braden Smith is kind of small. Fletcher Lawyer hasn't been in a lot of these situations. Like, they're still freshmen, and they've hit their wall recently. And Penny and them, they love to press. They play zone. They love to speed up the rock. They like to, force turnovers. Like, that's a hell of a matchup for them.
Trying to pull up the other side. Let me see the other side of the bracket. See if I can pull up the whole thing. Maybe ESPN has it. Okay, here we go.
For both rivers and oceans, but travel and leisure as well as Condé Nast Traveler. But it's now time for us to work even harder, searching for meaningful experiences and new adventures for you to.
All right, we got the whole bracket. I can see it here.
When you reach the top, there's only one way to go. We say that way.
All right, Kansas. Like I said, Kansas got to take on Illinois, Arkansas, then potential of UConn, TCU, Houston. Yeah, I think if we had to rank as far as from easiest to toughest, we go Bama, right? Bama has the easiest road.
Yep.
What? Houston?
I say
Kansas.
When it comes to easiest pass, I'll say Bama's 1, Houston 2.
Yeah, I agree. And Purdue.
I say Purdue 3 and then Kansas 4. Or no,
yes.
Kansas 3.
Kansas 3, you think?
Yeah, Kansas 3. Just because when I'm looking at it, like, again, after that second round matchup, if they play, they're going to play Arkansas or Illinois. Like, if they play Illinois, I don't see them having a problem against Illinois. I'll be honest. Of course, Terrence Shannon has already played against them multiple times, so they know the game plan to slow them down. Yeah. But Arkansas would be a matchup nightmare for them. But if they win that game, they're going to look at down the road. They're going to have to see either UConn again. I like Kansas in that matchup. St. Mary's or VCU. I like Kansas in that matchup, and then TCU Gonzaga later down the line, Sweet 16ish. That could be very interesting right there. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously TCU went to Kansas and knocked them out the water.
Yeah,
They beat them at
destroyed
TCU. Yeah, so that could cause some problems playing a team that's already in your conference that knows you like the back of their hand. But like if they played UConn or Gonzaga, I like Kansas in that matchup. I do. I think Jalen Wilson would just outplay Julian Strawther. Drew Timme would get his, but I like DeJuan Harris to slow down Gonzaga's backcourt as well. So I like Kansas's road, man. It's not that bad outside of that second round matchup. That second round matchup is going to be tough.
That's my thing, is that second round matchup, because they have, to me, by far, potentially the toughest second round matchup. Like I would feel comfortable saying that Purdue, Bama, and Houston go to the Sweet 16. Like I would put, but Kansas, I feel confident they would win because I think they're better than Arkansas and Illinois. But like we mentioned before, Arkansas and Illinois aren't your typical 8-9. Like Arkansas, if everything went right, is a 1 seed or a 2 seed at worst this year. So and if they're right for one night, they can upset Kansas. And same thing, Illinois. Illinois has a talent. They got vets on there who have won championships. So that's why I would say, I would put Kansas at the toughest, simply because of that second round matchup.
Yeah. I mean, I can't.
Because I think that their second round matchup is tougher than their potentially Sweet 16 matchup.
I agree.
Because, like I said, the second round matchups are either to be Illinois or Arkansas, but then the Sweet 16 matchup is going to be either UConn, Iona, or VCU, St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they get past that second round, they should at least get to the Elite Eight.
That's
so
what
it
I'm
gets
saying.
easier after that. So if you want to go overall, yeah. But that second round matchup for me is they're the one where if you told me they lost in the second round, I wouldn't be surprised, simply because, if it's Arkansas, like Arkansas hits on all cylinders, that's not a typical 8 seed. So, but overall, yeah, that their road isn't that hard. If you're not just thinking about the second round matchup.
Yeah, and when I look at Purdue, as I mentioned, I already talked about Memphis, but if they win the game versus Memphis or Florida Atlantic potentially, they'd have to more than likely play your Duke Blue Devils. And of course, they beat y'all earlier in the season, but if we're talking right now at this instance, I'm taking you guys to win that game.
Yeah, and we're a completely different team from when we played last.
Exactly. So
we have a Derek Lively who's more confident and playing a lot better than he was earlier than that season. I'm just bringing up. I just want to look at the stats, the box score from that matchup early this season. And
because as you mentioned, though, like Lively playing better, he could. I'm not going to say he can lock up Zach Edey, but he can slow him down.
But we got bodies because you got Flip too that can.
Exactly, you got bodies, and then I like y'all guard play between Hunter and Roach, Proctor and Roach, over Foster. Or I don't know why I keep saying Foster Lawyer, Fletcher Lawyer, and Braden Smith.
Try to bring up that first matchup and just see. Like I said, we got Derek. I don't know if Derek played that first game either, or if he did, he didn't play a lot of minutes from what I recall. I know they kind of kicked our ass. Like I said, completely different. See, I wonder how much stock you put into that. Like I'm sure if you're Purdue and if you do play Duke, how much do you look at that film and be like, all right, the thing you take away is the good things you did against them?
Honestly, I wouldn't even put it on. If I'm shy, you know what I'm doing? I'm looking at all of Purdue's toughest games from the past couple weeks and being like, okay, this is the recipe to beat them. As I mentioned, if you press them, they're going to get sped up because they have 2 freshman guards, and the rest of the team kind of struggles to make life easier for them between guys like Brandon Newman and Caleb First and Mason Gillis and Ethan Morton. So with y'all with y'all guard play, I like y'all a lot in that game, and especially because you said the bodies. Like you're gonna have Derek Lively and then Kyle Filipowski, and at the end, at the worst case scenario, your third guy is Ryan Young, who
Yeah. I forgot about Ryan Young too. Like you just throw him in there just to
foul,
just
like,
to foul, use them up.
use them all up, and so man, that's a tough job for Purdue in my opinion.
I gotta see if they when they played against teams with size like us. I mean, we have a lot of big guys. Like I said, you got Ryan Young, coming off the bench too. There's not a lot of teams that have a lot of size like us, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's the one thing is even though Zach's gonna get his thing, he's gonna do his thing. But if you just make shit hard on him and don't let Purdue get some open threes, but I mean our defense has been on point.
On point.
It's been on point, like so. All right, let me try to take some more. So we looked at the first matchup. Our backcourt was able to do some work against them, but Zach had 21. Fletcher Lawyer had 18. Yeah, I mean that matchup. If you're just gonna look at it, essentially, we only had 3 guys do anything, and everyone else like Lively didn't do anything. He was still coming back from injury. Derek only played 15 minutes. I think he just came, but he's coming back from injury. But like I said, a completely different team. Mark Mitchell was still getting acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you look at it, but you don't focus on because it's so early in the season that you're a completely different team now if you're Duke. Where Purdue is kind of the same team from earlier.
Exactly.
They haven't really changed much. It's the same philosophy, right?
And you got to think too, when y'all lost to them, they were playing some of their best basketball.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not playing some of their best basketball. They've been struggling recently. You guys have been playing some of y'all best basketball.
So yeah, but that's the potential matchup there. I mean, like I said, our bigs have been a lot better and all that. But if you can stop Purdue, like they're not a good 3-point shooting team, but they've been solid for like the last few weeks. But if you can stop that, because you know they're gonna see double teams from Zach and all that. But if they can't hit their perimeter shots, and Zach doesn't go off, like he doesn't get 30, I think that's the recipe to beat them. Because then you would think they'd be a better 3-point shooting team with Zach Edey on the team, but they're not. What up, Walker?
You're talking about Memphis?
No.
No.
That bad coach, man. He's such a bad coach.
No, I actually like the draw. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of think they've got a shot to go for a little run here.
Yeah, we were talking about Purdue and just like how they're
done. Like they're not making. Like, they can't get out of the first weekend.
You think
there's just so many problems on both sides, man. Like FAU's got that sneaky Power 5 size where they could at least give Edey enough problems, and Memphis is going to just chew up Purdue's guards so much that Edey, like even if Edey goes for like 30 and 20, like it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Like who on Purdue is handling Kendrick Davis?
Nobody.
Like you're gonna run out like Fletcher Lawyer or something. You're gonna run out like some scrawny white kid.
Yeah, they're gonna get cooked. But
I mean, you saw some of the concerns today, right? Like playing Penn State, like that dribble drive, and just teams that have athletes that can get by them. Like that's issues. Like Penn State gave them problems a lot of the day, and then we've already known this. And I understand why teams don't, because they don't want to wear out the legs. But any team that's going to apply significant ball pressure to Purdue's ball handlers is just going to eat them alive. They're going to turn it over. Like they'll turn it over 20 times.
I think that's what you got to do with Purdue.
Everybody I respect or talk to or whatever and was listening to, like They were just like, we already know we're getting a Memphis Purdue draw. Like, it just seems like it's written in the stars. And, like, I think everybody in the world, like, I think everybody knows what that's going to look like.
I'm going to look at some of their matchups versus, like, guards, like, high-end.
Because, like, I will say this, like, FAU's guards will give Memphis more problems than I think Purdue's will because they've just got so many of them that are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jonell Davis will be really good. Like Michael Forrest got relegated to like a bench role, and he's good too. I'm definitely missing a couple of them. The guy that went crazy yesterday.
Shafina, how does Shafina? I mean, they lost to Indiana twice, right? Okay, so if you just want to look at a guard like Shafina was able to do his thing, and that so that it shows that. If they're able to, if lead guards,
Lundy got 19. Like Lundy got 19 today, and like that was no big deal. Jalen Pickett was horrible today, and Penn State still almost beat him.
Mm-hmm. And that was both matchup. What about their matchup versus Rutgers? What did Rutgers do to them?
Probably like 42 to 41
to Purdue.
It was 65, but they pressured. They kept ZD in check, and then no one else.
If you want a good blueprint, go back and look. Whenever Purdue played Iowa, Purdue won the game, but Purdue got up huge early in the game, and Iowa started pressing them, and it became a game again, if I remember right. And then they just stopped pressing them, and it was just like after that, it was like, what are you like? I was like, Fran, what's up? Like, what are you doing?
Have you guys? I've kind of felt like Purdue has been up big in a lot of games, but then it feels like they let up a lot.
Yeah, so they pressed late in that second half.
Get back.
They pressed late in that. Iowa pressed in that second half and got it down to 6, and then they took the press off because there was still 6 minutes left, and then they got run out of the gym again.
And bro, when they constantly feed the ball to Edey too, bro. Like eventually you're gonna take 3s over 2s all day of the week, and it's not like people want to make it seem like Edey's like this automatic bucket getter, which to a certain extent he is, but a lot of times if you actually watch him, he's just throwing it up. He's not even like really aiming the ball like that. Like it's like his touch isn't elite. He's just so close to the rim. It's easy for him.
He's so damn big that it's just
So,
but if you look at a lot of their losses, it's keeping Zach in check. He's gonna do his thing, all right? But not letting him go completely off, and they can't hit the 3.
I was about to say, I really think Zach can go off. I just don't think you want him hitting the 3. Like, that's what Ohio State ran into. Like, you can't go into the locker room at halftime and Purdue be shooting 83% from 3.
Purdue was able to just shoot the lights out from 3 against Ohio State. But if you're just looking based off their losses, it's like when they lost to Northwestern, they looked 4-22. Maryland 5 of 11. Indiana in both matches was Indiana. They went a combined 7. So they shot the ball decent in the second matchup.
I will say this: if Purdue gets out of that first weekend, then they may go on a little run because the East is the weakest region.
Over 25. So. And then
I think the East. Like I think the East is the weakest region. The West is loaded.
I think it's crazy that Duke got the 5. Just showed that they really just said the ACC y'all trash. Like we thought, like because I was thinking because
brutal matchup for them.
We saw UVA get the 4, right? Kev, UVA got the 4, and we were like, okay, so if UVA got the 4, that means Duke's probably in the 3 line. And then we saw Miami is a 5, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, if Miami's a 5, UVA Duke's got to be in that 3 line, and they are 5. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see that. Just
it's a brutal matchup for Duke too, because you know that Oral Bob is gonna space the floor, and because Vanover's huge, but he can shoot it a little bit too. And so you know they're gonna space the floor and everything, and that's gonna take Duke's shot blockers away from the rim a little bit, and that's gonna create some problems. That's a horrible matchup. We talked about it in the chat for days. It was just like Duke against anybody but Oral Roberts, and you feel pretty good.
Yeah. That one was like,
but if you survive that game, you get Tennessee, which is like the ultimate. That's like the ultimate golden ticket.
Yeah, because
you'll get them.
Ziegler's out, right? Ziegler's out.
He's
done.
He's done. Tennessee will win that first game too. Louisiana can't take advantage of what Tennessee is not good at. But that next game, Duke would win that one, I think, pretty easily. Rick Barnes with a chance to go to the Sweet 16. That's a golden ticket. I mean, you just can lock it in there. I will say that middle sector of the East, like right where you're looking, that quad of 4 teams, it's got that Kentucky Providence game is going to be, I think, a must watch.
Oh yeah.
I'm not as far in. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, Providence is winning. I may pick them in the end, but I just haven't. I'm not sure I feel as strongly about it.
That might be one where you think a lot of people are going to pick Providence simply because Kentucky's been so up and down, but then that's the game where Kentucky wins by 20, and we're like, oh crap, like Kentucky.
Yeah, I do wonder though. Like, I really don't know if Kentucky has anybody. Like, I know that the Bryce Hopkins revenge game thing will be talked about, but I really don't know that Kentucky has anybody that can guard him.
Because
they don't. They're gonna have to guard him with the dude that got his minutes over him last year. They're gonna have to
throw Jacob Toppin on him probably and just pray to God.
Toppin's been playing really good too of late.
Kentucky's been playing better recently than Providence has.
Yeah.
Well, I think and I don't know that Providence has anybody that's going to be able to guard Sheboy.
Yeah, they will. They got Clifton Moore and Ed Croswell. Those are big bodies. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, I think they've got the big bodies. I just don't know how good. Like, I don't know how skilled they are because Sheboy is going to get down there and get some folks in foul trouble probably.
Yeah.
That's what you worry about when you play Kentucky is if your bigs get in foul trouble, then that's where you kind of are like, well, now we're in big trouble. Yeah, I think that sets up pretty well for Marquette. I think Montana State's kind of live. I don't know that they'll win the game, but I think it'll be watchable.
Montana State.
Yeah, that they ran the Big Sky this year, man. I had Montana winning the Big Sky, and it did not go down like that. But Montana State, I mean, they got through that Weber State game, and everything else was pretty easy. Both them and Eastern Washington were just electric offenses.
What about how are you feeling about Michigan State and USC?
I don't know. I honestly haven't watched a ton of SC. I came in kind of thinking like, all right, like I'm really gonna pick whoever Michigan State plays, but SC, like Andy Enfield's a coach that I hate backing. Like I really don't enjoy picking USC in anything. I'll probably end up picking Michigan State because if when it comes down to it, you trust guard play at the end of the day, and I'd rather have AJ and Tyson Walker than I would whatever USC's running out there.
I mean, Boogie's been good this year. He's been good. He's been efficient too. But yeah, I just like Michigan State's balance.
I think if you're looking at some of those underdogs, I think Baylor's in trouble. Baylor got a terrible draw.
Mm-hmm.
Because UC Santa Barbara attacks the rim more than probably 90% of teams in the country, and Baylor can't stop anybody from getting to the rim. It could legitimately be a layup line where they can't stop UC Santa Barbara from getting there.
And if they win that game, they're gonna have to either play Creighton or NC State.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They're gonna have to play a Creighton team that, I mean.
Yeah,
I thought I had them in the Final Four this year, so like they're not playing it like a.
They're gonna play two teams that's guard play is damn near just as good as theirs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing there where you're like, damn, like that's really not what you wanted. Like, I am trying to look and find kind of like what Montana State does tempo wise, because I think if like they're a really big. They're a tempo team, I think, a little bit. And that could be a problem for Kansas State. That's really the only concern with Kansas State going in is you have some fears about what they're going to do if teams get out in transition. But if they can set their defense.
Coach Izzo's 25th straight year in the tournament breaks Coach K's record.
Broke K's record, yeah.
Consecutive trips as a head coach. He didn't make it I was thinking, when did Coach K didn't make it? It was the COVID year.
Indiana got a brutal draw too.
Yep, sincere carry.
If they can't, like, if they somehow get through that first game, and I'm skeptical on that, the second game is not good either. And I think Drake beats Miami, but even if it's Drake, that's not a walk in the park either.
Indiana is such a fucking.
Drake's one that's coming in like on a run. Like Drake is coming in playing their best basketball, which is
Miami. Is Marquette even going to be ready?
If he's not, it's big trouble because I think
don't
Greg's
know.
got a big body in there that can
I
score.
think that's up.
And Omir is going to be hurt.
That could be him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that bracket on the top half is really tough.
Miami's a team.
I thought Xavier got a bad draw. Like Xavier with Xavier, like that Kennesaw State team's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're gonna have they're gonna have the athletes at least to prevent Xavier from just going bonkers on offense. And Xavier is not exactly a defensive juggernaut, and they're gonna be well coached on the offensive end and run good stuff. Like they're not gonna run just really easy stuff to prepare for and really easy stuff to guard.
Yeah,
I'm looking back on the South region. I'm looking back on the South region, and I damn near want to say Virginia's probably not going to get out the first weekend.
They won't win the first game, I don't think.
Yeah.
I just don't think. I think with no plus, and Furman's going to come in there, run elite offense, and shoot a ton of threes. If they hit shots, I just don't think they. I don't think they can beat them.
If they beat Furman, they play San Diego State more than likely.
Who does San Diego?
Yeah.
Oh, they have Charleston. That's right. Yeah, I'm not a Charleston guy. But the Mountain West always folds, man.
Yeah.
They're like 3. I think they're 3-16 in their last 19 tournament games.
Yeah. If there's anybody I trust from the conference, though, it's them.
Prez, Duke opened up a 7.5 point favorite against Oral Roberts.
7.5.
Yeah. I was gonna. Yeah, it feels high, but
It feels high.
it does. It feels high.
I don't know. I just hate that where
The
they
VCU St. Mary's game will give me fits because VCU is going to be able to ball pressure them and turn them over probably. But on the flip side, I don't know that VCU is going to be able to score at all.
Mm-hmm. Outside of Ace Baldwin.
Ace is going to have to hit a ton of mid-range jump shots. But outside of that, St. Mary's is going to have everything clamped up. And also, St. Mary's has a guard that can go nuts. And Mahaney.
Yeah.
Mahaney.
And Logan Johnson, too, sometime.
Yeah. But, like, that line's only 4.5. I'm trying to see, like, Maryland, West Virginia will give me some problems. That'll be a good game. Maryland away from home has had some issues this year. Yeah, Memphis opened as a 1 point favorite against FAU. Like that's brutal.
1 point favorite?
That was a brutal. Like I don't know why they paired those teams. Like everybody wants to see G5 schools or Memphis isn't a traditional FAU is. And so people want to see those schools win games, and then you're just like, you know what? Let's take 2 of those schools and put them against each other, so you knock one of them out on the first day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think TCU got a great draw, by the way.
Where's TCU at?
They got the winner of that Nevada-Arizona State game in the first round. They're in that West region.
Yeah. They have potential because they're going to play Gonzaga most likely.
Gonzaga is going to try to track meet with them, and if you try to track meet with TCU, you're in trouble.
Then they're going to play either.
And then you get like UCLA. You get the injured UCLA squad in like the Sweet 16. To me, like that's a team where you could look up and they'd be in the Elite Eight against whoever comes out of the top half, which that top half of that region's loaded. Because like Iona, like Danny Hurley looked up and is like, damn, I have to coach against Rick Pitino in the first round. Mm-hmm. That's what I get for being a 4 seed. And then I don't even remember who the 1 is, but I don't remember what the top half is. Yeah, like you got so the 5 seed in that region, if you pull up KenPom, the 5 seed St. Mary's is the 11th ranked team on KenPom. And then like Arkansas has got multiple lottery picks. And Kansas won the national championship last year. And has Jalen Wilson still and DeJuan Harris. So I think those teams could theoretically just all beat each other up, and TCU, if they can get through that Gonzaga game, could maybe just slide into that Sweet 16 Elite 8 area. grab one of those teams from the other thing. Like I think TCU could be a Final Four team in that region.
Are your preseason Final Four team still?
I think it's live. I don't know that I'll pick it, but I think they definitely. I think they could play Kansas again in that Elite
Yeah.
Eight.
Who was your preseason Final Four?
I have futures. Oh God, my Final Four.
Let's see if mine is in. All right. So I had TCU, Creighton, Houston, and
I know I definitely had Houston. I
that was
definitely had
my Final
Houston.
Four. So
See, I definitely had Houston and Kansas back there.
Okay, yo, my Final Four is okay. Where's okay? So my Final Four on the East, the West, the Midwest, and is live.
I'm pretty sure I know I had Houston, UCLA. I think I had Creighton, and the fourth I don't remember who.
My Final Four can't physically happen, but all my teams are in it.
Alabama may not be physically tested before the Elite Eight.
Bama.
Yeah, I mean, who in that quad is testing them?
Bama got a smooth sailing.
They got the best draw of all the 1 seeds.
Yeah,
And that's what happens when you're the number 1 overall seed.
I mean, San Diego State maybe if they find a way to get through there. San Diego State maybe.
Does Bama get the 1 seed if they don't win the ACC tournament? And let's say Houston.
No, they said that was what it was. They said after Kansas got beat that they had made their mind up that if Bama beat A&M today, they were giving them the number 1 overall seed.
And
I was just like, so for the SEC tournament, Big Ten tournament finals don't matter, people. They clearly do.
Kansas got screwed.
They did. They sent Kansas West too, and the Midwest region is located in Kansas City. So they sent, instead of sending Kansas to Kansas City, they sent Kansas out west.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy.
Because that second round, me and Kat talk about that. Like their overall like potential run can be easy, but that they have by far, in my opinion, the toughest.
I also feel like Bill Self's a little bit too egotistical to line up against Arkansas and do what's necessary and just sit in that 2-3 zone and let them jack threes.
Them versus Arkansas and Illinois, that's a tough second round match.
I can't. I don't know how Illinois wins that game. It's going to be a brick fest, but Arkansas is just too talented.
Mm-hmm.
And Illinois, and it seems like Illinois just wants the season to be over.
Yeah, they got to figure out some shit.
Yeah,
because they're too talented.
And I'm not a huge Muzz guy, but I'm definitely less of a Brad Underwood guy.
Yeah, we can agree on that. Brad got too much talent to be
mediocre.
To be this mediocre this year. Oh, Sky Clark situation. He got him and Mayer are beefing. Mayer goes from winning a national championship to this. Like, there's too much going on over there. They got to figure things out.
Yeah,
that's a matchup though. That's.
I think yeah.
But if they're clicking though, that's the thing with Illinois. How many times have we seen them this year? You're like, yo, how are they so inconsistent when they they go around and win a game they're not supposed to, supposedly, and then there's nights where they're like, yo, all right, they are what their record is. But if they're clicking, well, for one night, if they're clicking against, they can beat teams. They can beat the best teams in the country.
Nick Smith's quietly figuring it out though.
He's good.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be a top 7 pick.
Yeah. He's quietly starting to put it together and make shots and find ways.
He feels like a Washington Wizard. I don't know why. I just Nick Smith and Washington Wizards. I just feel like that because they could finally.
I just don't know if anyone else is going to make shots though. You saw it when Arkansas got eliminated this weekend. They just, I mean, once stuff goes wrong, it's almost like they're great until adversity hits, and then once adversity hits, that team just caves.
Breaking news: North Carolina decides not to participate in the NIT.
Really? Oh, Stackhouse is going to be a Tar Heel in 2 years, man. It's
Oh man!
So.
Shout out to Hubert Davis, man.
Yeah, Rob's upset because I said that I was ripping his Miami Hurricanes. I think all I said was that they were going to lose.
I like Miami in that game. Drake is a tough opponent, though. Like I said, DeVries, coach and son.
He should win over Drake. Drake's had a good season and all that.
If you think Miami's gonna, if you think Miami's gonna win, you can get them for the cheap price of a 2-point favorite right now.
It's just 2-point favorites. That's it.
What I saw earlier. The lines are way tighter than you would think they would be.
I'm about to say.
Like Kentucky opened up as a 3-point favorite against Providence.
It's a 5-12 game too between Miami and Drake.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's upset seeding right there.
Let's see. Yeah, Arkansas. Does Colgate give Texas problems? I don't think so.
Nah, that should be a.
You just get nervous about the teams that shoot a million threes, because if for some reason they get really, really hot, then you're just like, oh damn, that's a problem. That's problematic. But Texas doesn't really get lit up from deep like that, so you would hope that that's not a problem.
They got too many athletes.
They looked incredible last night. It felt like we saw like close to their A+ game last night, although Timmy Allen was out. But if Dylan Dessou is going to play like that,
it's quiet for him.
They got a good draw too, because neither of those teams in that 7-10 game really scare me from a Texas standpoint.
Yep.
Penn State will shoot a bunch of threes, but Texas is pretty good, and you almost get a practice game for Penn State with Colgate, like with knowing that your team's going to shoot a million threes. And with A&M, like, I just don't know that A&M can score enough in that game.
Yeah, Colgate's gonna have to just
chuck and run. Like,
just live by it. Seriously, like
they did that to Arkansas, and Arkansas ended up coming back and winning, but it got dicey there for a stretch where. But Colgate's so bad defensively. Like, Texas should score every possession.
Yeah, they're just more physical and talented.
They should shoot 92%.
That should be the strategy, though. Like, hey, we've weren't there like number one in like our top 5 and like 3 points was made or something like that.
I don't know, but all I know is I saw Colgate's like 292nd in defensive efficiency, and they play in the Patriot League. So I feel like the Big 12 team should score a lot of points.
All right, I got the stats right here.
The Utah State Missouri game is going to have 100,000.
206 in defensive efficiency, but they're number one in 3-point percentage. They shoot 40% from 3 as a team.
Yeah,
and
that Utah State Missouri game will have a ton of.
They don't get to the bucket at all. They don't get to the so they literally are live and die by the 3. So
be interesting to see how Texas's ball pressure affects them.
You have to, right? If you're Texas, you just gotta get in the ass. Don't even let them feel.
No help defense on Thursday.
Yeah, just get in the ass early so you could just take care of business, because they should win. But if you let them feel that confidence from 3, because they got a couple snipers on their team, so you can't let them feel any type of.
Who are you talking about?
Colgate.
Oh yeah, they're all snipers.
Because usually that's how it happens. These upsets. It's just because you just let them get lit up from 3.
Yeah, and also that first 5 minutes is also super important.
It really is.
Get a good start.
That's
You can't let them
off the jump. Just get in the ass. Don't even let them feel any confidence. Just get in the ass early, get up big, and then that's it. Take care.
Yeah, and then you just shut it down, because at some point they'll give up. Like the Cinderella stories, just kind of be like, all right, you know what? Not our year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude, Iowa State. I think Iowa State plays Does Iowa State get the winner of that Pitt Mississippi State game?
Yep.
They get a plane. Yeah. They get.
That's going to be the ugliest game of the weekend, probably.
Iowa State.
I think Iowa State will win, but that'll be the ugliest game of the weekend.
All them teams struggle offensively. Jerome Holmes, the only guy that can go get a bucket for Iowa State. Pitt is solid, but I don't know. They're kind of a little team too.
And Mississippi State doesn't have any bucket getters.
Yeah, Tolu Smith is the only.
And Tolu's not going to cook against Iowa State like that.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And even then, you can kind of hack Tolu because he can't shoot free throws.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be locked in for that Xavier Kennesaw State game. Like, I'm curious at least. I'm not making any wild statements. I'm just gonna say that I'm curious.
It's hard to bet against Tule Boom.
It is, but I say Kennesaw State has Terrell Burton.
True.
And he's probably one of the more unique players in the country, just because of his size and how good he is at getting to the rim. And then you've got Youngblood can really shoot it. Spencer Rogers off the bench can really shoot it. I like Rogers a lot. Damon Robinson can actually score on the interior. And then Brandon Stroud can't really score, and hell, he was hitting jump shots in the conference tournament. If he's hitting jump shots, you're in big trouble on that end. But he was the defensive player of the year in the ASUN because he's got length and he can guard everybody 1 through 5. So I kind of wonder if Damon Robinson won't be able to get off in that game with Fremantle out for X.
No, I'm definitely because you've been on that Kennesaw State bandwagon for a minute, so got me thinking.
I am at the very least intrigued. I was kind of waiting on the draw, and I can say like it's not one where I shut it down and I'm like they can't win that game. I really want to pick Dennis Gates' squad here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because they have to go to the West Coast. They got to go to the West Coast to play a West Coast team too.
Mm-hmm.
And that Utah State team's been kind of slept on. I don't really know what the hate is, but people like they were on the bubble.
I've been on them for the whole season, man. They're another team that could shoot the 3, man.
Yeah, you just wonder, like, are Missouri, like, are Mountain West teams just bad in the tournament though?
Yeah.
And I hate associating conferences in general like that, but like you do it, like it's something with it, man. Because like Colorado State was really good last year, and then they got blown up by that Michigan team.
Yeah, they got bounced early.
They didn't win a game, and then San Diego State got bounced by Jim Boeheim. If you get bounced by Jim Boeheim at this stage,
bro's like Jim. We should talk about Jim Boeheim too. Let's get into that before like
the guy can't even coach games without peeing on himself these days.
Like it kind of felt like he got fired, but they were just like, all right, we're gonna do this as professional as possible.
Apparently he's working their athletic department or something, and that's like a huge. I don't know why they promoted from within. That was so dumb because that probably would have been a pretty highly sought after job.
It really is.
I think Adrian Autry will be straight. He got AAU ties. So
is he going to be forced to run the 2-3 zone?
I don't think so.
They got to get out. Like
I don't think so.
I don't even know that the 2-3 can't be effective anymore. But you have to have people that are committed, and your culture has to be so good that everybody has to be flying around and playing it like 110 miles an hour all the time. And just in modern college basketball, it's really hard to find a group of kids that are all going to buy in at once to that philosophy. Knowing that it's probably hurting their stock a little bit because you don't see them play man.
Exactly. If you want to get kids to go to Syracuse, New York, right? Because you think New York and everyone thinks bright lights, but that's not what Syracuse is. Syracuse is nothing like that.
No,
you gotta play a different type of style of basketball to get kids, especially if you want some of the higher end New York kids or just whoever in general. You gotta change that style because you ain't gonna get kids to come up in this cold ass weather to be playing some whack ass style of basketball. That's just the
where you're having to defer to whatever version of the coach's son that's on the team that year.
It's just not going to work. So you got to change that because kids ain't going to be going to Syracuse, New York to be playing some whack ass system.
Hell no.
Yeah.
And there's talent in New York. There's kids that the guards have gotten better. Like there was a time period, the guard play in New York, high school and AU, like it just wasn't good. Like they weren't developing. But it seems like the last few years, the next upcoming years, there's kids. So the talent's there now in New York. You don't have to go too far to pick them up, but it's still like.
Hey, do we? Not to interrupt.
Syracuse, you gotta.
Do we know anything about Marcus Sasser's availability for? Like, is this like just? Did they just hold him out as a precaution because they thought they knew they were getting a 1 seed or whatever?
I could see them holding him out for the first round game.
You just don't want to keep him out too long where he gets rusty, and if it's something where he's going to be out a long period of time, like. Obviously, I mean, if you watch the game today, you see what that's going to look like, and that's not something.
I mean, everyone's saying he's probable for the game, but that doesn't mean that he's healthy.
Yeah.
But would you just sit him out? I mean, you never want to assume you got it, but they're going to win their first round game. Like, regardless, like
Samson came out and said that it wasn't a high priority that he was going to play in the AAC championship game, so they held him out for precautionary reasons. So.
Oh, then he'll be fine. Then that makes things problematic. I'll tell you what, we'll get a Texas-Houston Elite Eight game, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, Iowa got fucked. And I'm not an Iowa guy. I hate Fran, but Iowa got fucked. Not because they drew Auburn, but do you know where that game is being played? They're playing that shit in Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
That is going to be an Auburn home game.
It's a home game. Yeah.
And if you win, you get rewarded with Houston. Or Iowa got screwed.
They had more opportunities to win games though in the regular season.
They did, but you could at least be like, if you're going to throw us with a 9 seed, don't put us an hour from their hometown.
Yeah.
Especially for a lower seed.
Right, like the lower seed.
That's the one thing I would say about. I feel like the committee got it right as far as teams getting in, because there wasn't teams that missed the tournament that were like.
There's nobody that we're looking at that got snubbed.
They one got snubbed. I would just say some of the matchups are like, how did they come about that? That's my thing.
Like, if you're going to do that, why not just put Maryland and West Virginia in the Midwest and put Iowa and Auburn in the South and just let Maryland, West Virginia happen in Birmingham? Well, I guess because Alabama's the 1 seed. But point being, why not make it a 7-10 matchup? Like, let's be honest. Like, 1 seed line's not making the end of the, like, changing everything here. Like, but there's no way Auburn as a 9 seed should be playing in Birmingham. Like, that's a gift. And then if Auburn beats Iowa in Birmingham, you screw Houston on top of that, because then you have to play again in Birmingham, and Houston has to basically play a road game against Auburn.
Mm-hmm. I still like them in that matchup, though.
I think they'd win, but it shouldn't be something that you have to deal with.
True.
It's just like, yeah, like Houston got, like, I thought Houston and Kansas both kind of got rough draws.
Kansas has got to get past that second match.
So does it feel like Texas is smooth sailing until they see Houston?
Yeah,
bro, because Penn State, Texas A&M, they should.
It doesn't feel like anybody in that group there can get
either Iowa State, Xavier, or even Kennesaw. Even if Kennesaw, I think they have a. Even if
I think that second game could potentially get dicey if Penn State got hot from 3 for some reason. But beyond that, man, like Iowa State's not going to give them problems. Xavier's not going to be able to guard them. Texas A&M's kind of a nightmare matchup for A&M. Like, I really think if Texas just doesn't let Colgate make 1,000,000 threes and doesn't let Penn State make 1,000,000 threes, they should probably be in the Elite Eight.
That's the only one thing is if they let those teams get hot from outside,
which this year they've been good. They've been good at not doing that. I think I looked earlier; they're like the 25th ranked 3-point defense in the country.
So I mean, like I said, they keep that up and don't let those teams even think about.
Well, and then you pray that Houston somehow slips up somewhere. Like, because then if Houston slips up, you're talking about a potential cakewalk into a Final Four. I don't know where Houston would.
They could slip up at any point.
Well, I mean, but because Kent State would be a problem.
Unless Sasser's out, unless he re-aggravates the injury.
If Sasser is out, that bracket there gets very problematic. Maybe because Auburn will have guards that can go. Miami and Drake both have guards that can go. Indiana's got a guard and a big that can go. Kent State's whole team can go. Houston got a tough draw in general. Like, it's already going to be tough, but it's even worse if Sasser can't go. Then you're in big trouble.
That's what I'm saying. If they should just sit him out.
Which honestly, I think you do sit him out because Northern Kentucky plays zone. Like, they don't play any man-to-man. They only play zone. And Houston will get a zillion offensive rebounds. You don't even need Sasser for that.
Yeah, I would sit him out. Don't even think about playing in that first game. You should be good, with who you got without him and just.
Yeah, I think is the entire world going to pick Furman to beat Virginia? Just on the surface, you would think
like that's going to be the case.
Sure wins. I'm just trying to think of any advantage that Virginia is going to have in that game. It's the 4-13 in that upper left quadrant. I don't know. I just don't know any advantage that Virginia is going to have in that game other than experience, maybe. But really, Furman's super experienced too, just not NCAA tournament experience.
Mm-hmm.
But like Bothwell and all those guys have been there for. They're all seniors. And Bob Ritchie's a good coach. Yeah, that line opened 6.5, and it's already down to 5. Furman is
Virginia?
getting.
That's going to be one that's going to be popular.
It is, and that's kind of what makes you. That kind of is what can, because if we hear it, then Virginia definitely hears it. Where they kind of bring it, maybe. But I don't know. Even if Virginia brings it, I don't even know if they can win that game. It's a nightmare matchup for sure. That's a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Because look at him.
Virginia's offense is just.
Furman's last 5. Just look at the form.
They light it up. Look, 88. I know it's you want to talk about level of competition as well, but still putting up 93 points in college basketball is 88, 83, 73. They struggled. I know it's Duke, but their offense just struggles at times.
Yeah.
Their offense is just doo-doo.
Yeah, and the guards aren't good enough to your leading scorer is Armand Franklin, which is a problem.
Yeah.
He's a piece, but he's not he's a piece, but he's not the guy that you want running the show per se. I guess they're doing the women's selection show right now.
Thanks. They still got on CBS.
I don't know.
I'm on ESPN right now watching. Joel Lunardi got 65 out of 66 right.
No, the women's selection show starts at 7 p.m. Central on ESPN.
Oh, so it's coming up.
Yeah, because I'm curious to see what Ole Miss gets. I can't wait to talk about the bracket next season when Ole Miss is playing in it.
Is that are you confident that it is Mr. Beard that's going to be the next head coach?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's finished. I think it's done.
I think that's what Goodman said on Field 68.
Yeah. So what I've heard. So
matter of language and all that.
I'll tell you what I've heard here. So what I heard is that they didn't want to announce it on the weekend because they know that there's going to be some national media backlash, and they don't want to take away anything from the women's program. They want the women's program to have the weekend and celebrate getting into the tournament and being a high seed, and then they're going to dump it tomorrow, and then the tournament will start and nobody will care anymore.
No, so they're just trying to find a way to get around it so they don't get too much.
Well, but they could have Friday news dumped it, but I don't think they wanted to do that and then let it sit and then have to come back and do the press conference next week. I think they just wanted to do it all at once. Yeah, dude. That I'll tell you what. Oral Roberts opened 7.5 when I hopped on this show, and it's 6.5 now. So the thing is coming. That thing is coming down.
I really think we got screwed.
I think it's a bad. Well, there's two sides to this. It's a bad first round draw. It is not a bad overall draw, though.
Overall, but hey, we got to get out of the first game to even think about the rest of it, and that's
right.
a tough first game to.
Is there anything beyond who is there one that you haven't heard talked about upset wise that you think could happen? Because I have one on the brain.
I'm gonna have to look. One that's not being talked. Is Kent State, Indiana being talked about?
Yeah, I think that's a popular one. I don't know. I'll go ahead and give you mine, and then I really think so I told you I thought Montana State would be live, which by the way, that line's only 8.5. But I think Princeton is live against Arizona.
Really?
I think there's a shot. Those Ivies are tough, man.
I know. They are tricky. I don't know, but Zona's really good though.
I forgot that Rob has a Miami national title future. So when I picked him to lose in the round of 64, that probably did And trust me, like I'm someone that has futures as well. So if I got on and someone was picking against one of those teams and they're on to 64, I'd probably be like, damn it, shut up.
I don't know about that though for Rob. I think he might
He bought it at the worst time too. I think he got like 50-1. I think he'll be able to get a way better price now potentially.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know. They ran like gods in the middle of the season, and like towards the end, I think we started to see more of their true colors, which is that they're a good team, but they're not a great team, and that they have guys who can go. But now Omir's hurt. Like
They got no size, man. They got no size.
No, and I know that like it's this analytical way of thinking about basketball, and there's two ends to the spectrum. There's old school and there's new school and all this stuff. But I think Miami has gone, like Larrañaga's gone way over to the new school where he's playing just basically a shit ton of guards. And like we haven't seen anyone actually win big that way. Like even Alabama, Nate Oates, who is also on that far end, is still playing a true big in Bediako. Like he's
zero size.
I know.
You don't know how they're going to survive in a tournament.
No, and they're gonna, and like they did make a run last year, and I think people are
Jordan
like,
Miller's their biggest guy.
They got an ideal draw last year.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And they were also in the bracket, and they were also
last year. You know.
Yeah, and they were also in the bracket that basically just exploded. Like where we had a 10 seed playing a 6 seed for a spot in like the Elite 8. Like, and to me, man, it just doesn't. I just don't see it.
I don't see it this year. I love the guard play and all that, but
other teams have
Norchad's not healthy. Your biggest contributor is going to be Jordan Miller. I don't see. I mean, I gotta look at their draw again.
But like, man, like look at like Tucker DeVry is listed as a guard at Drake, but he's 6'7".
Exactly.
He's a 6'7" guard. How are you guarding him?
And Nigel Pack and Isaiah Wong are 6 foot and 6'4".
Like their forwards are 6. Like I'm gonna go through. They've got a 6.
Miami might get bounced in the first round.
They've got multiple. They've got a 6'10", another 6'10".
All right, but let's say they win, and let's say they win. They beat Drake. Then they got to play. Let's say it's Indiana. Like Indiana.
How are you guarding TJD?
How are you guarding Trace Jackson? Like
you're not.
I just think I think they win one game if most. I think it's.
I think you're better off just going ahead and picking Drake and figuring out what to do with them because you know, like even if I miss that game in a bracket pool, I know Miami's not going on a run. Like you just know it, and you know that that whatever matchup they get in that second game is also going to be a nightmare, and their first round matchup's a nightmare too. So like you just go ahead and pick them in the early nightmare matchup, or pick them to lose that early game and just get them out of there. Like don't even try to figure out what to do with them after that. But like I think Indiana's could get beat. I think everybody.
I think so too. That's a tough.
I'm really going to talk myself. I really am going to talk myself into betting, just outright betting on Montana State's money line. I every time I kind of see the game, I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, Auburn will beat Iowa. I'm an old school man. Like I'll fill out the ESPN thing because I like doing the bracket pools. But like my initial first copy of my bracket will be on paper. And then I'll just take my paper bracket and I'll plug in my stuff into the app.
Yeah, I got to do that for the network thing because we had a good turnout last year.
I was in it before I actually joined the network because Chris was at the network. And so like I joined through that.
We had a nice turnout.
Yeah. So I'm probably I'll print the paper bracket and fill it out, and I'll have a highlighter and a Sharpie and all that stuff. And
yeah, no, me too. I'm gonna work on that next.
I'm off tomorrow, like all day tomorrow. So I'm probably gonna try to not be emotional tonight. And just kind of let things stew and sit for a minute.
Yeah, think about it for a second.
And then I'll dive in. There's a couple in my head that like I know I'm picking. Like Iowa, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kansas State, rest in peace. But I think that just in general, like a lot of those 50-50 games, I'm going to have to sit on it for a minute. I really wanted West Virginia to get put in Purdue's region, to be honest. I wanted Bob Huggins to get to go old school press Virginia against Purdue. That would have really, really warmed my heart to watch Bob Huggins go press Virginia against Purdue. I would have legitimately like giggled the whole game as West Virginia pressed them and turned them over 28 times and scored 85 points. That would have been fun to watch.
Virginia bounced back really well. They struggled early in the season, but they ended the season really well.
Yeah, they've got Maryland, and I don't know who I'll pick in that game because Maryland sucks outside of College Park. West Virginia is not great. I don't know. Two teams that are going to get beat in the second round.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Because Maryland is cheeks away from College Park. Like, can't shoot, can't do anything. That's why they got bounced in the Big Ten tournament the way they did.
Yeah.
They get beat everywhere. Ohio State beat them when when Ohio State went 1-14 over those 15 games. I'm pretty sure the one win was over Maryland in Columbus. That's how bad Maryland is away from home.
Yeah, they're the Golden State Warriors of college basketball.
Pretty much.
Pretty
much. I think I'll be. Yeah, so like, I think Utah State, Missouri is going to be fun. I would love to pick Utah State, but Dennis Gates is my guy, man. Like, I love Dennis Gates, and I really don't want to pick against him in that
game. Had a great season, but Utah State, man, I've been on that all season.
Oh, I know. And Utah State's favored to win the game, which kind of tells you everything you need to know a lot of times. A lot of times you look at the lines, and it's so weird that you just know what the right side is. And Utah State's favored by like 2.5 as a 10 seed. And so you just know it's like Utah State's the side here. Like, they're the better team.
Yeah. Nah, I think that's one game, one lower seed that I'm gonna go with. I've been riding with them all year, so I
think Ken and I are gonna try at some point this week to do like a best bets type deal and maybe reevaluate some futures and stuff. But man, I don't know how you list Texas as shorter or as longer than about 12-1 to win the whole thing. Just like knowing that they're probably gonna roll to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, because they have a good draw.
Yeah, and even if once they get to the Elite Eight, like, I don't hate their guards against Houston's guards. Like, I don't think Houston necessarily means the end of the road. Especially because Houston is not deep at all, and Texas is incredibly deep. I think that those bench minutes, like as you get late in the tournament where you're playing, especially you've played 2 days ago or whatever, and your legs are a little bit heavier, I think Texas having so many extra bodies that can go in and play and keep their guys fresh. Like, Arterio Morris is playing a bunch now in the backcourt, and like Arterio Morris really had not been playing at all. And Arterio Morris went off in the Big 12 tournament, at least in the final. Like, he gave them a ton of good minutes.
It's gonna come. They need Sasser healthy because, like, guy like Terrence Archio, I can't even say his last name. I always butcher his name.
But like even today,
they supposed to be big this year. Like, he started off solid this year, then he just fell off a cliff. Like, he didn't play a lot. But
they played 7 players today. They played 7 players against Memphis today.
Yeah.
Even getting blown out, they only played 7 players. Like, they didn't, like, there was nothing, like, there's just, you're so thin, and at some point that has to wear on you. Playing almost all 40 minutes every single game. You can only condition so much before your body just gives.
Yeah. Well, Jabari had 13. Yeah, no one went off at him.
No, because if Sasser's not there, then the other guards can't create for themselves or for other people. Sasser has to do everything.
And Jamal Sheed is already someone who struggles shooting as it is. So
yeah, like he hit that shot.
Sasser, he hit the game winner against Memphis last time, but you take Sasser away, then it's just he's going to take more contested shots and all that. And he's struggling.
What do you think happens with FAU Memphis? Because I'm really fascinated. I think that for Memphis, the one thing you're concerned about is FAU has legitimately 5 to 6 players who can create their own shot. and you can't hide everyone. Jaden Hardaway. But I don't know, man. Memphis is just so freakishly athletic, and Kendrick Davis is, one of those guys where you just know he's going to have a big game.
Yeah. Kendrick Davis is going to
So
be
many FAU's got so many players that are good.
I just feel like Memphis is finally figuring it out. Like even their last two losses are against last two losses were against Houston, and the last one was a buzzer beater, and the one before that
was close and Kendrick was out. Yeah, and Kendrick was out.
So like, I mean, I know even like that's why I think they
by the same token,
they had a lot of close losses this year.
By the same token, like FAU's won 31 games.
That's the thing too. So,
and that's no joke. Like I know that people probably do the strength of schedule thing with them.
Yeah.
They've won 31 games. Ole Miss beat them though. They lost to UAB on the road. Whatever. They pretty much settled what that looked like in the conference title game.
Yeah,
when they just absolutely beat their brains out from start to finish, which is typical Andy Kennedy. Like that's so typical. They probably went out and had a good time the night before and showed up and thought they were gonna. I mean, but like we talk about playing your best ball coming in, right?
They can shoot the ball that way.
That's a big thing, right? You talk about your run of form. This is FAU's like last 10-ish games. They played UTSA at home and won by 40. They scored 106 points. They played UTEP at home and won 75-49. They went on the road to Rice and won 103-74. They went on the road in that tricky spot against La Tech and won 76-72. And then the conference tournament started. They beat a really talented Western Kentucky team by 24 in the first round. They beat Middle Tennessee in the second round, and then they beat UAB by 22 in the championship game. They're just beating the shit out of people.
They're beating crap. And that's why I like trends. That's why sometimes I don't even like looking at the beginning of the season because, they're just a completely different team. And what they've done lately, FAU. That's why that's one where it may take me to the last day to figure out who I think is going to win that one because – like you said, Florida Atlantic is
and really honestly, I'm obviously
Memphis is hot too. So it's you got two teams who are playing really good ball, and
it's not one of those coaches where I'm jumping up and down hey, Dusty May is going to abuse Penny Hardaway. That's not really something that I actually like. I don't really think that this is Dusty's first NCAA tournament game. He's kind of in uncharted waters here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not that I don't think he's ready for it. And he's earned this opportunity, but it is a whole different animal when you kind of get to that neutral floor and play those types of games.
Of course, yeah.
And none of your players have been there. Memphis has had players that have been there. Kendrick's never been there, but everybody else has. And Kendrick may have been there earlier in his career when he was at SMU.
No, this is one of the more tougher games.
It is a fascinating matchup.
It really is a tough matchup.
Because if FAU gets hot from three, Memphis is in trouble because Memphis can't score enough to get into a track.
Score enough, and you saw that even in the first two. Not the buzzer beater. They should have won that game handily against Houston, but they just couldn't get a bucket. I
know
when they had chances to get it, they just couldn't find the bottom of the net. So that's something that if you're FAU, you got to take advantage of. You got to kind of press them.
And I don't think I didn't. I changed my mind, by the way. I'm not picking Michigan State. I'm a Michigan State truther. I can't pick them.
Who they got again?
They've got USC.
If Boogie Ellis has been their backcourt's been really good this year. I know I've watched a few of their games and I've been a Boogie Ellis guy because Duke had him and then he wound up leaving because I forgot who came in that year. But I've been on him and
if you're a believer in USC,
but this year he's finding it. He's super efficient this year at all three levels. He can, but
Michigan State. So I've actually never gotten to talk about this on a podcast. So I'll do the Michigan State thing real quick and I'm not going to even really I'm not just super angry about it. I don't consider teams good when all of your offense is geared towards shooting contested shots. They shoot a ton of contested shots in the mid range. They shoot a ton of contested threes. And even when the threes are open, they're super reliant on shooting threes. And when those don't go, they are not good. And when AJ is off the floor, they're really bad. They're really, really bad. AJ is the only thing that has gotten them to where they're at.
He's hit some big shots for them.
He has, and Tyson Walker has hit some big shots.
Tyson Walker too, yeah.
But
like you said, it's a lot of contested, tough shots.
It's a ton of contested, tough shots. And like it's like I talked about, like, and most of this was like you look back, I had Ohio State when they played in East Lansing like a couple weeks ago. And like Michigan State doesn't cover the spread, but wins a really close game on senior day. And then you go look at the box score, and you already know deep down, you're like, damn, they made a ton of contested shots. They were 12 of 20 from three and were scraping by bad teams.
Yeah.
And like that is not a repeatable thing, which is why when they met again in the Big Ten tournament, even with the rest advantage, Ohio State just blew them out. It wasn't even close because Michigan State couldn't throw a rock in the ocean. And I think when you get in a neutral floor in a stadium that they more than likely haven't played in, I don't know where the game is, but more than likely that they haven't played in, taking tough contested shots is not something that leads to wins.
Yeah.
And at least Andy Enfield, like, isn't a slouch. He doesn't suck. I mean, I don't love him, but he doesn't suck.
I don't know. I think that that's another one that's gonna happen.
That's gonna another one I'll pick against Michigan State at the end of the day. I'll go back and forth, but I'll end up taking USC just out of, I don't know if spite is the word, but maybe passion.
What?
No, I think spite is the word. Out of spite, I will take USC out of spite.
That's a spite pick.
It will be, yeah.
But it's not a crazy pick. Like, people like genuinely think USC can beat Michigan State.
I just think if you think the guard play is even, that you're probably like, damn, like let me take the team that's probably going to take better shots. Like if you think it's a dead even game, which I think most people do, I think in Vegas it's a pick 'em.
Boogie's been so efficient. He's been like one of the more efficient players in the country this year. And you got Drew Peterson also. Like,
yeah,
you know, he's not as efficient, but like he's really impressed me this season. Like, he went from me to being someone that was like outside of even my NBA draft process to like someone I'm like, is he a second round pick? Is he a back end first round pick? Because he's really good. Like, he's been really, really good this year.
Yeah, I think a power conference on power conference upset that could happen, that when you really think about it makes a lot of sense, that maybe not a lot of people are talking about. I think NC State could give Creighton some fits. I think that's one that could really be a problem. I think Turquavian and Jarkel could really – I'll say, like, Turk is good. Jarkel is built for this tournament.
Oh, 100%.
Jarkel is one of the ones. Jarkel is one of
the
ones.
Their guard play is going to give Creighton fits, and they're going to have to figure out – the thing with NC State is Cole Kalkbrenner. That's the thing.
Yeah, but with that, they can pull him away from the rim, which hurts Creighton.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's what you worry about with Creighton, is that is teams that can pull Kalkbrenner away from the rim. Creighton ain't guarding anybody after that, especially not athletes like Jarkel and Turk. I'm just telling you, like, I'll have to try to do some insider trading there. I'll have to like text him and be like, all right, man, let's slow down. What do we think here? You know what he'd say. He's gonna be like, we're winning the national championship. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's another one.
It's just a matter of who you think is going to be better. Is it Jarkel and Turquavian or Nembhard and Trey?
I'd probably lean NC State's guards right now.
I like them better, but it's like, okay, then we could pack past that. Then it's like, all right, they got Kaluma, you got Kalkbrenner, you got Shireman.
Yeah,
like, Creighton has one of the better starting fives.
Listen, no, Creighton's the better team. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's just been so inconsistent.
And it's a matchup.
Remember they lost like 8 in a row after the Maui?
Yeah.
like or whatever. Something they had a night. Then they started playing better again. Then lately, that's kind of been, up and
So here's the
down
thing:
since February. So it's like.
Creighton
What
has
is going to show up? Is it the team that was top 10 in the country and everyone after when they played Arkansas and in the Maui like played so good and we're like, oh my god, this team's a national championship contender? Or is it the team that was lost 7 in a row, even though they were close losses, but they still lost like 6, 7 in a row? What Creighton are we going to see? Because Creighton could go to the Final Four, but then Creighton could lose in the first round. Like they have one of the higher, one of the higher like. As far as differences of like how far they can go, they could get bounced in the round 1, or they can be a Final Four team. It wouldn't shock me with either or. So, but the thing is, they have no bench. So once they lose one guy, it's like that's the problem. Is like the whole year they've missed one guy, and whoever replaced him just does not have the. It just gets their team all out of whack.
But since Christmas, man, Creighton has 3 wins over teams that are in this bracket. Are we sure that we didn't just buy into the W's and maybe didn't buy a little bit of fool's gold? And when they played quality opponents, they just really weren't that good.
Yeah.
But granted, the ACC is
they
trash.
lost to Arizona, Texas, Marquette. And even though it's early, but they lost to those teams. Connecticut. They may not just be as good as I thought, but I still think they have what it takes to but it all depends on the perimeter shooting too.
It really does.
It just feels like they don't know how to figure out that team, that starting 5, because they have the talent. That's a talented starting 5 that could Final Four, final starting 5. But
so since
because Kaluma sometimes need the ball in his hands, and then you want to get your guards active, and you want to get Scheinman to be active on the perimeter, and then you got to feed the big man in the post. It's
So here you go. So since Christmas, their games against tournament teams. They UConn, they lost by 9. Xavier, they got beat 90-87. Providence didn't get in, which that was interesting, by the way. I thought Providence not getting in was interesting.
No, they got it in Providence.
Oh yeah, they did. So they beat Providence at 73-67. I thought what? Oh no, Rutgers got left out.
Rutgers got left out. Yeah.
They beat Xavier,
but Rutgers down the stretch really.
You lost to Minnesota. You don't get to complain.
Yeah, they lost like 7 out of their last 10, so that screwed them over.
Anyway, but beat Xavier. They beat UConn at home. Lost to Providence on the road. Lost to Marquette. Get back in, and then Xavier just blows your back out in the conference tournament.
Yeah, they're tough to figure out because coming out of that Maui, man, they red hot. Even the loss to Zona, like that was a close loss.
I know.
And like that stretch where they lost 7 in a row, close loss. I mean, they're still losses, but close losses. They didn't get blown out. Marquette took it to them, not a blowout, but I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to figure out. But NC State has the guard play, has a more dynamic guards than Creighton.
Yeah, I think that's
guards are good, but they're not as dynamic as NC State.
I'm gonna have to pick Kennesaw State too. You can't quit now.
No, you got to keep rolling with them.
Can't roll. I will say this. The first thing I did as soon as lines popped, I immediately took Kennesaw State plus 12.5 for a unit and a half and put my phone down. It was like, I'll look at the rest of it later.
Plus 12.5? Okay. Yeah. That I think that's reasonable.
I know. If it had been single digits, I would have had some questions. I would have been like, wait, all right, Walker,
you're buying points for that?
I was kind of thinking, I was like, all right, whoa. Like, let's do some thinking here.
Sule Boom. I mean,
yeah.
Sule Boom's great.
Xavier will be the best offense Kennesaw State has faced all year, but Kennesaw State has real athletes.
No, they do. They're solid.
Like, I mean, they have dudes that transferred in from legitimate basketball programs, and then they signed some pretty highly touted recruits. So, like, these are dudes, like, it's not like your typical mid-major that would get overwhelmed by that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And Sean Miller's not exactly a tournament warrior either.
No. I keep forgetting Sean Miller's there too. Yeah, no. I think that matters too. I think this is where coaching is where it matters.
The
Where
big test for Amir, man. The big test.
this is where coaching matters, and you know, this is
I think
where
Amir will have a really good game plan, and I think they'll be really hard to prepare for because Amir runs really good stuff. But when the bullets start flying, I will be paying attention. I'll be interested to see how he handles it when the shots start going up.
it's gonna be fun. Are you and Ken planning on doing a like a betting show or whatever?
I think so, yeah. We don't have a date or time ironed out, but I said something to him about it, so I think it'll happen. If not, I've at least got.
Figure it out.
If he's unavailable, I'm going to do
If
something.
you can't do it, I'll do it. I'll do it with you. If
And
not,
I've
we'll
got,
figure it
and I've
out.
got people, and I've got some people outside the network that have already said like, if you do it, we'll come. Like, so.
Oh yeah, so that's even. That's,
I may be able to send a message to my guy or my buddy that works at 3-Man Weave, and does a lot of the stuff with the Action Network, and maybe try to get him back on
Oh,
sometime.
cool. Yeah, no, for sure. So we'll set that up and all that because
I'll do something. Tomorrow would be ideal. If not, then Wednesday.
You want to do something tomorrow? Then I could do something tomorrow, possibly.
I can do it tomorrow. I'll reach out to Ken and see maybe.
We'll figure that out on the
Maybe
channel.
try to set up a round table and maybe go through some of the games and maybe go through quad by quad.
Maybe we could just do it. I'll get a bracket set up and we'll just go through teams.
Or yeah, just those. You know how you have those pods within the brackets where it's kind of like 8 teams in a pod. We can kind of just maybe go in and best bets here, best bets there.
Yeah. Sure.
One thing we hadn't talked about is these. Who do you like in these 11 seed play-in games?
So what is it? Pitt
It's
versus
Mississippi
Mississippi
State
right?
Pitt on Wednesday, and then Nevada and Arizona State on Tuesday.
Oh man, I'm gonna
I
go.
think I'm rolling with. I think I would roll with. I really don't know.
I don't know either.
I really don't want to pick Mississippi State, but I'm not just in love with Pitt either.
I'm gonna roll Mississippi State.
My question there is just when it comes down to the last 5 minutes, who's going to go get them a bucket?
That's the thing. Who's gonna get them a bucket?
I had the days backwards. The Nevada Arizona State game is Wednesday. I do think Nevada beats Arizona State. I do feel good about that one.
I just don't trust Pitt. I mean, I know Mississippi State struggles scoring.
Yeah, I know, and but do you really
That could
you're
be an
gonna have to
ugly
throw
game.
it in? If
That could be an ugly game.
Tolu Smith gets in foul trouble, the game's over.
Yeah, because they can't, and their judge is bad from 3.
They're
Or like maybe the worst Power 6 school
yeah,
from 3. Let me look up.
it's one of the worst for
They
sure.
have
None of the Mississippi schools could shoot.
Yeah, so they're 363rd in 3-point shooting, and they're a terrible free throw shooting team.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do we
Is
trust Pitt?
Jans just so clear coaching
He's a
wise
better
Capel?
score?
Is Jans just going to coach circles around Capel, or is that
He's
what do
a
you think?
Capel, man. Like I love Jeff Capel. He's a dookie, but damn, I don't know if I could trust him. That's the thing. Coaching
I'm
matters.
about to kind of look at some of the. I'm about to look at some of the Ken Palm stuff. I haven't really looked at it intensely in a while. I don't know what. And honestly, this is going to surprise you probably. I don't know that I've laid eyes on a Pittsburgh basketball game this year.
Yeah, I've watched a few, obviously, the Duke games, but I
So
watched.
the Pitt is really good on offense. It's
They
a top
are.
25 offense. They don't play very fast. They're not good on defense, but I don't know that matters. They're not bad. They're just
They
not
got
good.
some good upperclassmen and all that.
Um,
On paper, Pitt is a better team than Mississippi State. But
the Ken Palm difference is wild, though. Mississippi State adjusted defensive efficiency 6th,
that's what I'm saying.
but adjusted offensive efficiency as good as Pitt's offense is. Mississippi State's defense is equal.
That's the thing. It's going to be a matter of
It is
defense
totally
versus
stylistic.
it's going to come down to coaching. It's simply going to come down to coaching in that one.
Who are you taking then?
I don't know if I could take Capel. I hate to say it. I don't know if I could trust Capel. I just don't.
Does Pitt have a guard that you trust to take the game over late? Where if they just lined up an ISO ball, he can just cook?
I mean, Burton can, but Burton can't shoot from 3 though. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't trust Pitt.
I think though that you have to get Burton some early action and go straight at Tolu Smith, and see if you can get him in foul trouble. Because if you can get him 2 fouls,
then Mississippi State's in serious trouble.
yeah. I think that has to be like priority 1. I think you have to go at Tolu early.
Pitt has some good upperclassmen though. That you
But
trust.
on the flip side, if Jan's
Greg Elliott's been good too.
yeah.
This the kid from Marquette came from Marquette. He's good. He shot the ball well from 3.
Jan's is one that'll let his guys play through foul trouble a little bit, man. Like if Tolu get his second, that gets his second. That doesn't necessarily mean he's coming to the bench. So if Jans watches the scout and understands what it is, then I think he's going to be like, damn, I can't take him.
What's Capel's record? I don't know. I really hate to
But
say
I'll say this, man, like
Capel in a tournament.
But State's defense is so good. Like State beat Marquette on a neutral this year.
Yeah.
And it's because their defense just like gave Marquette so much trouble that their offense was able to win it for them at the end. And State like has some guys that can get hot from 3. They're not good shooters, but they can get hot. Like Shaquille Moore can get hot. DJ Jeffries can get hot. Neither one is a good shooter.
Yeah.
DJ Jeffries banked a corner 3 in Oxford. That was so frustrating. That was an overtime.
They got Blake Hinson too.
Yeah, former Ole Miss Rebel.
Former Rebel.
Blake Hinson. So if you want a fun Blake Hinson story, Blake Hinson's freshman year, and this is every single year, by the way. Like they do this every year. CBS always picks up the Ole Miss Mississippi State game in Starkville. That's always a game that they pick up. For whatever reason, they really like having it on TV or on national TV. And that Blake Hinson's freshman year was Kermit's first year. So we were good. And Blake Hinson went bonkers in Starkville. Bonkers. Like had like 29.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So maybe something and then he shot it really well, I think, when they played him at home. Blake Hinson may have a little thing where he shoots it really well against State. So who knows?
He shot the ball well this year. So
yeah. He's a good player, man. There was just a lot there, I think.
I know Pitt's got some guys and all that. I mean, Capel needs to coach his ass off this year because next year he's not gonna have a lot of these upperclassmen there. So
God, I think Ole Miss is fixing to get paired in the UConn portion of this women's bracket.
All right, this is up. All right. Well, I gotta get ready for another podcast I'm gonna do. This was fun. We're definitely gonna plan on doing some more stuff as we get closer to games, do some betting.
Oh, no, Ole Miss must have already gotten announced. I don't know. They're not in that portion.
And all that. That's cool. You kind of 2-seed again. But we'll figure out things for some more shows throughout the week and all that as far as betting.
You already know we're gonna have it all down.
We're gonna have the betting stuff, all that for you guys and all that. But Selection Sunday, we here. Can't wait. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do the bracket tournament challenge again. So we'll have the link and follow us at Off the Ball Network, OTB_network. We'll have the link pinned so you could join it. Last year we had a good turnout. We'll have some prizes. We'll announce some guy for that and all that good stuff. But appreciate anyone that tuned in to the live stream. And like I said, follow us at the network. Go follow Walker. Go follow myself, and we'll have some more info as far as coverage of the NCAA tournament. We're here. Can't wait. Excited. So we'll talk soon. Peace out, guys.